Good evening, everyone. I welcome you to this meeting of the Cardinia Shire Council and declare the meeting open at 7 p.m. This meeting will be conducted in accordance with the Council's governance rules. It's important that members of the public present in the gallery respect the setting and do not disrupt the meeting, particularly during debate and discussion by councillors on items in the agenda. We will commence this meeting with a reflection. I would ask those gathered to join us now for a few moments of silence as we reflect on our roles in this chamber. Please use this opportunity for reflection, prayer or thought to focus on our shared intention to work respectfully together for the well-being of our whole community. Thank you, everyone. The Cardinia Shire Council respectfully acknowledges that we are on the traditional lands of the Bunurong and Wurundjeri people, and we pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. There are no apologies for tonight's meeting. We're expecting Councillor Ross to be joining online, so we'll monitor that as the meeting goes. Item 4, adoption and confirmation of minutes. Can I please have a mover and a seconder for that Council confirm the minutes of the following meetings? 1 being the Council meeting on the 21st of August 2025 and 2 being the Town Planning Committee meeting on the 1st of September 2025. Moved by Councillor Nicol, seconded by Councillor Pomeroy. All those in favour? Declare that carried. Thank you, councillors. Item 5, declarations of interest. Councillors, are there any declarations of interest in relation to tonight's agenda? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll declare a conflict for item 7.2.3, the proposed sale of the Army Road Hall.
Thank you. We'll note that, and we'll note that in the minutes. Anything else?
Do you want me to state why it's conflict?
Yes, please.
Yeah, no, just my involvement as a committee member of the band.
Thank you. And given that we have a councillor expected to join soon, we'll need to check in with him when he joins, but we'll address that as we go. I'm going to bring forward item 13 on the of the agenda tonight, item 13 being the mayoral minute. And the reason for that is recently, just wanted to mention that we lost 2 community champions recently. Yesterday, I attended Audrey Dodson's celebration of life at the Triple C. Of course, Audrey was our Senior Citizen of the Year. In 2023, it was quite a beautiful service with heartwarming stories from her childhood, some of those written by Audrey herself, which was really insightful, with some beautiful contributions for her family. So we thank and acknowledge Audrey for her long-term commitment to our local community, to teaching and of course to local history, for which she was so well renowned through her dedication to the Berwick-Pakenham Historical Society. On behalf of Cardinia Shire Council, far late Audrey Dodson. We also acknowledge the very recent passing of Bob Taylor, a committed member of our community, a champion in the local scouting movement, and was extremely well renowned. Of course, he was also very, very passionate about the Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve, in which we had the chance to catch up very recently at the sod turn. So our council's condolences go to Bob's wife, Eleanor, and his family, and we say valet to Robert Bob Taylor AM. And I understand other councillors may like to make contributions doing their reports later on. All right, we're now going to go to, thanks everyone for that. We're now going to go to community questions. Just a reminder again, we have 15 minutes for community questions. I think we'll be okay to get through them all. Our first questions are from Richard Payton. Is Richard in the gallery? We note he is. I'm going to refer those to Debbie Tyson. Thanks, Debbie.
Just doing 2 there.
No, we'll do all 3, please.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your question, Mr. Payton. Question 1. Knowing that the feasibility study has confirmed that golf is viable at Pakenham Golf Course, and when the survey results strongly support golf returning to Pakenham, how does Cardinia Shire Council plan to implement the findings? In response, following the completion of community consultation, officers will incorporate the feedback received alongside the findings of the feasibility study to develop a recommendation regarding the future of the Pakenham Golf Course. This recommendation is scheduled to be presented to Council in November. The outcome of this meeting will guide officers to the next steps of the process. Question 2, how does Cardinia Shire Council see golf playing an integral part in addressing the issues of youth crime rates in Cardinia Shire? In response, Cardinia Shire Council recognises the importance of providing positive and inclusive opportunities for young people as a proactive approach to reducing youth crime. While golf is not currently highlighted as a standalone program in this space, Council supports a broad range of youth-focused initiatives that align with these same goals. Question 3. Knowing that the feasibility study has confirmed that golf is viable at the Pakenham Golf Course, and when the survey results strongly support golf returning to Pakenham, how does Cardinia Shire Council see golf playing a part in addressing the need for ageing well in Cardinia Shire? In response, Cardinia Shire sees golf as a valuable contributor to its ageing well strategy, which aims to foster a community that is inclusive, healthy and socially connected for older residents. Golf contributes to many social benefits, including improved physical health, mental health and neighbourhood amenity. While golf is not explicitly named in the strategy's documents, its characteristics align closely with the Council's goals for positive ageing. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Our next set of questions is from Adrian Dowell. Is Adrian in the gallery? We note that. For your questions to Debbie Tyson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for your questions, Mr. Dowell. There are 4 questions which I will read, and they're in relation to Offiscott District Park building structures. I will read them together and then provide one response. Question 1. Is Council of the opinion that building permits were not required to be sought for any of the 7 aforementioned structures? Question 2. Will Council issue enforcement against Council, Council laws or Council staff for a breach of the Building Act 1993, Section 16(3) for the carrying out of illegal works? Question 3. What action do Council propose to take to rectify the non-compliance and safety matters on site in a legal, safe and workmanlike manner? And question 4. What actions are Council proposing to take to ensure all Council-owned classifiable structures meet minimum legislation, construction and safety requirements throughout the Shire? In response, all 7 structures that are referenced in the inquiry have a building permit and were built as per the permit requirements and engineer certified designs. No further investigations are required. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Our next set of questions are from Chris Naylor. Is Chris in the gallery? No. Then a written response will be provided to Chris. Our next set of questions is from Tony O'Hara. Tony is in the gallery. Tony has submitted 7 questions. These are going to be read by Wayne Mack.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. O'Hara, for your questions. First set, in relation to Cardinia Shire Council being a shareholder in South East Metropolitan Advanced Waste Processing Proprietary Limited. Question 1. Has Cardinia Shire Council been contacted by any private or government entity regarding large-scale waste facilities for Cardinia, such as a waste transfer station or processing plant? And the response. Cardinia Shire Council is a member of the South East Melbourne Advanced Waste Processing Company, who have entered a commercial contract to facilitate advanced waste processing of residual waste, non-recyclable and non-recoverable, through a commercial procurement process completed in 2024. There are no current proposals for a new waste facility within Cardinia Shire. Question 2. Will Cardinia Shire Council commit to fully transparent community consultation for any future large-scale waste facility proposals, including those with development plan overlays, even if exemptions from notice and review apply? The response. Council is committed to undertake community engagement as per the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020 and the Planning and Environment Act 1987. Question 3. Would Cardinia Shire Council be willing to commit to fully transparent community consultation on any future large-scale motorsports facilities proposed for the Shire, even if there is a clause to exempt an application from notice and review if it is generally in accordance with the development plan overlay? And the response, if there is any proposal for a motorsports facility at Key Lane, Council is committed to undertake community engagement as per the requirements of the Local Government Act 2020 and the Planning and Environment Act 1987. The next set of Mr. O'Hara's questions relate to councillor expenses. Question 4. Could Council please confirm that the councillor expenses records are correct and up to date, as there seems to be many councillors not claiming or the data is missing? And the response: councillors can choose to be reimbursed for expenses and not all councillors do so. The information reported was correct at the time of publication. Question 5. How long after an expense can a councillor claim the allowance? And the response: Section 4 of the councillor expenses policy provides that claims must be lodged at a minimum of monthly and a maximum of quarterly. Question 6. What are the actual financial limits set for councillor travel expenses as a maximum per month and per year? And the response: financial limits are not set. Rather, Section 40 of the Local Government Act 2020 and Sections 3 and 3.1 of the Councillor Expenses Policy provide that councillors will be reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses that are bona fide and reasonably incurred in the performance of the role of councillor. Section 3.1 also states where travel is by flight, the standard form of travel will be economy class. And question 7, what action is taken by council officers to validate claims for council law travel allowances and to ensure that appropriate limits are not exceeded? And the response: it is the councillor's responsibility to ensure that travel claimed meets the policy, and an affirmation is included on each claim which the councillor signs. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. And next question is from Brijal Parikh. Is Brijal in the room? No, a written response will be provided to him. We have 3 questions from Stephanie Davies. Is Stephanie Davies in the room? No, a written response will be provided to her. We have 5 questions from Henk, and we note Henk is in the room. These will be answered by James Kelly. Thank you.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Hermans, for your question in relation to Heritage Springs Estate lighting. Question 1. Why were the old heritage lights removed at the roundabout and not at all the other locations? Response: this matter was responded to at the previous council meeting on the 18th of August 2025. Question 2. Why did AusNet recycle the removed lights? Response: it is the contractor's normal practice to do so. Question 3. Are black lights safer than green lights, and why the colour change from the 3 new ones just up the road which are green? They are equal in performance. Response: my apologies. They are equal in performance. They were installed based on colours available at the time. Painting will occur in the near future. Question 4. Can council quote the specific information their answer at the last council meeting relied on, stating the original lights were removed to comply with safety requirements? Response: council confirmed that the lights at the Livingston and Heritage Boulevard intersection were removed and updated as part of a black spot project. This was done to improve visibility and comply with lighting standards under AS 1158, road and public space lighting. Question 5. Council stated we are continuing to work with the contractors on AusNet. Exactly what communication is taking place? Response: council is undertaking a process review in relation to the works and public lighting replacement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, James. Thank you, community, for your questions. All right, we'll go to ordinary business, agenda item 7.2.1. The recommendation here is that Council 1 endorses the final Upper Beaconsfield Reserve Master Plan, and 2, thanks the Reserve Committee, stakeholders and broader community for providing feedback through the community consultation process to develop and finalise the Upper Beaconsfield Reserve Master Plan. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Owen.
Thank you. I move the officer's recommendation, please.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy. Over to you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. This is a really important night tonight, this item being hopefully adopted. This report endorses the final Upper Beaconsfield Reserve Master Plan, and also thank everyone involved in the process. And there has been 2 stages of engagement, and we've engaged with the Upper Beaconsfield Recreation Reserve Committee of Management, the Beaconsfield Upper Primary School, the Beaconsfield Junior Football Club, Upper Beaconsfield Auskick Centre, Upper Beaconsfield Scout Group, Cricket Club, Riding Club and Pony Club. So there was 2 stages, one back in May, June, July of 2024, and then again, second stage was the 20th in April this year. There was an on-site pop-up session was held on the 6th of May and had approximately 15 attendees, and I was happy to go along and hear people directly. Some key things came about through this process. A real significant push to keep and retain the current traffic circulation around the Oval at school time. Definitely, Council received a petition, and that was very clear in the submissions that the community wanted that retained. We know a pavilion is going to be installed at the reserve next year. There was thought to bring forward the building closer to the fence line, but if that was to occur, that would not allow for that circulation of vehicular traffic at school time. So I'm glad that the master plan does retain that. Some of the key things in the master plan is new reserve car park and pedestrian layout. The primary school car parking remains unchanged. Refigured the Oval to permit nose to fence car parking to allow up to 120 spaces. Also upgrades to the Oval surface and install 2 new playing shelters. The new pavilion, and we know that's coming, retain the restricted vehicle access, as I spoke to before, establish the pavilion forecourt as a gathering space in Oval, and install 2 safe crossings over the Oval perimeter road, pave walkways around the pavilion, formalise existing gravel paths, stormwater mitigation required, and it goes on. But I've spoken to the current president or chairperson of the Upper Beak Rec Reserve Committee and Management. The committee is extremely pleased. They are thankful that council has undertaken this process, funded the master plan process. We know it's Crown land, and we know that it's up to the committee of management to really seek other government grants to fulfil what's proposed in this master plan. Council obviously is contributing to the pavilion, which I'm really pleased about. Council can support community capital works grants programs if there is items in this master plan that they want to fulfil through that program. That's one way that in which they can access council grants. But the document does talk about the requirement for the committee to seek other government grants to really formalise and really action this master plan. So it's very positive way forward. It's a 10-year strategic plan. I'll pause there and let my colleagues speak. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Pomeroy.
Very comprehensive overview, Councillor Owen. So I won't repeat a lot of that, but I suppose what I did want to talk about was we do rightly aspire to see our local spaces evolve to meet the growing needs of sport, recreation, community connection and environmental sustainability. So I did also want to be very clear that although we have funded the master plan and we've got the first project of the new pavilion that council is contributing, there's a lot of work still to be done to fund this. And I think it's really important that we understand that we have a lot of master plans that aren't funded. And I just hope the expectations around these are very clear that these are a long-term plan and not an immediate outcome, but I am in support of endorsing this master plan.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Probably just say I'm happy to support this, and yeah, it's fitting that that this comes up for adoption on the same night that we mentioned, Bob. I think, yeah, Councillor Owen and Councillor Pomeroy have summed it up well. Just to reiterate to the community that council has obviously done, you know, and funded a lot of the work up to date for this master plan in its entirety, I believe. But works from here will have to be supported by either quite small council grants or alternatively other levels of government funding. Yeah, I'll probably leave it there. All right, Councillor Owen, over to you to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors. I just wanted to also highlight through the consultation, there was a strong flavour around equestrian in this consultation. A lot of the survey responses mentioned equestrian. That's really important. We've got a strong equestrian community in Upper Beak, and there was a number of action items in the paper in the master plan that talked about the need to improve the equestrian facilities. So that's the public equestrian arena, resurface the arena, install a shelter over the tiered seating, upgrade the equestrian club room. And no doubt that needs to occur through access and inclusion. There's really no disability toilet there. So that is identified as a key part of this master plan, this strategy, is to improve the equestrian elements of this reserve. Other master plan recommendations were looking at engagement with the primary school community regarding management of the reserve, and also just governance matters was also mentioned. But no, thank you to everyone involved in this engagement. I look forward to working with the club, the committee management and the clubs to hopefully seek other government grants to deliver other elements of this master plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. So we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.2.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. 7.2.2, land use for Key Lane, Pakenham. The recommendation is that Council 1 negotiates lease terms with the Kuirup Motorcycle Club. 2, conducts community engagement associated with a new lease. 3, reports to Council on the lease terms and the community engagement. And 4, notifies Strategic Policy Advice Victoria Proprietary Limited that Council will not proceed with the submitted proposal for the lease of Lot 3 for the use as a motorsports park. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Pomeroy.
I'd like to move an alternate recommendation.
Okay, please read out your alternate.
1, negotiates lease terms with Kuirup Motorcycle Club. 2, defers any final decisions on lease agreements until the Investment Advisory Committee has reviewed and provided advice to Council on lots 2 and 3. And 3, notifies Strategic Policy Advice Victoria Proprietary Limited that Council will not proceed with the submitted proposal for the lease of Lot 3 for the use as a motorsports park.
All right, thank you. We note that. That's tabled, so it's just up on the screen if any councillor wants to read that. Is there a seconder for that? Alternate? Councillor Pomeroy's alternate? Councillor Thompson, you want to second that? All right. I'm going to go to you, Councillor Pomeroy, for your alternate.
Thanks. Firstly, I'll explain a little bit around why the alternate. So the recommendation was that we went and had a chat with Kuirup Motorcycle Club, negotiated a lease, went out to the community engagement on that lease, and then came back to Council. But as part of our Council plan actions, we've decided, or one of our actions is to put in an investment and advisory committee to help guide Council on decisions of strategic importance in terms of land, what we're doing with land, alternative revenue, and this site is a prime opportunity for that, especially Lot 3. So the Kuirup Motorcycle Club, currently the lease we're talking about is on Lot 2, but they do use part of Lot 3. And in earlier engagement that was done with the Auto Club and the Kuirup Motorcycle Club, the Auto Club were very happy with Lot 1, which is where they are. The Kuirup Motorcycle Club identified that Lot 2 wasn't exactly what they needed, and they have been using parts of Lot 3 for certain activities. So I think it is right that we talk to them about what they need. We understand that, and I do understand how long we have been talking to the Kuirup Motorcycle Club. So I want them to know that we aren't just kicking this down the road. We really need to decide as a council what we're doing on Lot 3 before we determine a lease for potentially 20 years or 30 years on Lot 2. So that's the reasoning around changing the recommendation. And I'll probably let others speak to the Kuirup Motorcycle Club and some things that they're doing, and I'll wrap up at the end. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. I'll be relatively brief, just not to double up on what Councillor Pomeroy has already correctly mentioned. But yeah, 100% worth noting that we 100% want to work with the Kuirup Motorcycle Club and the best use of that Lot 2. But with the draft initiatives coming up in the council plan and the noting of that new investment advisory committee, it seems like this is the most appropriate motion and outcome while we come up with a strategy for that lot 3, but obviously still working very, very close with the Auto Club and the Kurirup Motorcycle Club. But obviously, as the Motorcycle Club has a lease renewal coming up, we need to be making sure that we're tightly in touch with them. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Payton.
Thank you, Councillors Pomeroy and Thompson, for your comments. Look, I've spoken at length to the Kurirup Motorcycle Club regarding this, and I'm happy to support the alternate motion put by Councillor Pomeroy. I think going to a community engagement when we're not really even sure of the terms of the lease arrangements and we're not really certain of the future of Lot 3 would sort of send the wrong signals and sort of waste that community engagement process at this point. So happy to adopt this alternate recommendation. Just want to make a couple of comments. I know that the Motorcycle Club intend to carry out significant investment into the site once they are granted a lease, and that they've been held up for a very long time. They have big dreams, and in the words of Jo, she says, "Just give us wings and we'll fly." There are significant benefits to the members that use the club so far, but they're not really able to advertise what they do to the wider community because of the lack of investment in the site. They just can't really cater for more than they have currently. So, you know, I think it's really important for us as councillors to understand better what this big area of land, I think it's over 90 acres, that is all zoned motorsports at the moment, can potentially offer Cardinia as a shire. I see that the benefits of motorsports in general, there's not much out, well, there's nothing else that competes out this way. Wodonga City Council have just completed the first part of Diamond Park, and I would recommend that everybody have a quick look at their master plan. I think they got investment from state and federal government of around 32 million to develop that, and it's a combination of both water sports and land-based sports for their motorsports. And given that Cardinia wants to progress its tourism and economic development, I would love to see you know, some really robust discussions happen in this space, and again, support the fact that we don't want to, you know, just kick a can down the road and keep this very deserving motorcycle club and the Pakenham Auto Club waiting forever for the future of what progresses. I know that using Lot 2, they're very constrained by drainage and the power lines, and they are also limited by a freeway overlay. And I'll just speak very quickly to the...
Councillor Payton, we're over.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? I see Councillor Owen.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. The Kurirup and District Motorcycle Club has got a long and proud history in Cardinia Shire. It dates back from 1927, when at early stages of the club, and in 2023 they celebrated a 50th anniversary, which I was lucky enough to be invited. So it's really important that we look after the motorcycle club and provide a long-term lease. I'm pleased that council is commencing the process of looking at the lease arrangement. The current lease expires in a couple of years. The motorcycle club wants a long-term lease to help plan for their future. There is no alternative sites in Cardinia and either our neighbours. So we really need to get this right for our local motorcycle club. So negotiate lease terms with the Kurirup Motorcycle Club. That's good. That will look at what are their requirements. Do they need more land? As Councillor Payton said, Lot 2 is very restrictive. Power lines, water easements. They can't have a permanent building structure under those power lines. It's really hard. You've got environment factors. So this process will commence that conversation about lease. What about the freeway reserve? What about additional access to Lot 3? It's really important. We need to have those discussions so we can provide that long-term future for one of 2 local motorsports clubs. They have over 500 members, particularly around families. They support young families and young kids learn the discipline of motorcycles. So it is time that we seriously look at the lease, a long-term lease for our motorcycle club at Kirrirup District. So I welcome this. I welcome these discussions. I welcome wanting to hear from our club about their requirements. So hopefully we can finally, after many years, provide that long-term future. So I look forward to this process beginning. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Owen. I don't disagree with what you said in any way, but I think it's about balance. And I think the reason I'm going to support this motion is because this motion is about providing clarity. Of course, we should be working towards a long-term lease with the Kirrirup Motorcycle Club, and I think that's a good thing. But we need to balance that with the fiscal needs of this council and ensuring the long-term financial sustainability of this council, as well as ensuring that we're working towards providing benefit for all Cardinia Shire residents. So I think there is a path that we can navigate where we work with the motorcycle club in consideration of the land that they currently are leasing, of the land they would like to expand into theoretically. I think that can be achieved. There's also clarity in relation to point 3 of this alternate, which I think will be good to wrap up. So I'm happy to support an alternate that's about providing clarity. I think I'll just commend this council on having the foresight to understand that, the investment advisory committee that's potentially coming if the council plan is adopted as it currently is in its draft form is something that this council needs and has needed for a very, very long time. We aren't rich like inner city councils. We do not have the parking revenue that they have. We are a growth area council, so we have challenges in that space. So coming up with alternative creative ways to increase returns for this council is paramount to ensuring that we can eventually aim to reduce the rates burden on our community, as well as getting ahead of our growth challenges. So all those things combined, I'm happy to support this alternate. Who else would like to speak? Councillor Nicol. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank Councillor Pomeroy for bringing the alternate to the table. I'm speaking in support of it. I can recall when I was here last time, 2000 to 2003, we were talking about locations and the future of the Pakenham Auto Club and the Kirrirup Motorcycle Club. Unfortunately, the conversation is still going on and not quite resolved after a quarter of a century. So I am strongly supportive of us concluding the negotiations with the Kirrirup Motorcycle Club with a view to getting them a long-term lease, similar to what's currently in place with the Auto Club. The point 2 that's been introduced is really, really important. And importantly, the reconfiguration of those 3 points compared to the original recommendation has also unlocked point 1. The negotiation for lease terms now will be, what does the motorcycle club need? It will be an open negotiation that can then go and inform the new investment advisory committee on community needs, and that advice that we then receive from them is properly informed from the community needs when we start considering what to do with Lot 3 and whether in fact it needs reconfiguration to allow the community use. So for me, this has really sort of turned things around into the correct sequence for us to properly inform ourselves about what we're going to do. And I look forward to the outcome of the lease negotiation discussions and what's needed to secure that long-term lease for the motorcycle club so that they can plan their future with some confidence. Motorcycle riding is a really important recreation activity in our Shire, but also in the state. beyond even motocross riding, it includes trail riding as well, cross-country riding, which often occurs in forests nearby and out behind my ward, in Rangers Ward. And safety and kids getting the opportunity to be brought up in a supervised environment where it is a risk activity. It's a risky activity, but where kids can learn safe procedures, maybe get coaching even on trail riding once they're getting up to the age where they've got their licence. The world is the oyster of the Coorabra Motorcycle Club in terms of potential membership and the catchment of interested families that will come to a facility like this where they can be in a quality family environment and learn not just motocross riding and potential competition, but also just riding for pleasure and leisure and trail bike riding. So it's awesome. And it's the same with the Auto Club. This will be great community assets for our young people and our adults as well who enjoy to ride and drive. And I can really see a great future.
Councillor Nicol, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other speakers to this item? We're going to go back to Councillor Pomeroy to sum up.
Thank you all. I'd like to give the community some certainty that the Investment Advisory Committee won't be guiding on all leases. This is a little bit of a different circumstance, and it is driven by the unrealised potential of Lot 3, zoned motor recreation and education park. This site is vacant, and there have been 2 unsuccessful expression of interest processes to lease or sell the land for motor racing and an education park. Council in June 2024 received an unsolicited proposal to lease Lot 3 to develop a motorsports park. And that is the part 3 of this tonight. So while we're unsure what we're doing with Lot 3 and there may be further opportunities in the future for expressions of interest, it's also not the right time right now to proceed with a proposal. So that wraps into that. I do want to thank the officers for bringing this one to light long before the lease terms are up. This does really provide us the opportunity for better decision making and not feeling really constrained by this tight time frame that we have to turn things around super quickly. So thank you. And that's all.
All right, councillors, we're going to consider Councillor Pomeroy's alternate to item 7.2.2. All those in favour? Declare that carried. All right, just briefly pause. Councillor Ross, we note you're joining online. Thank you. I'm just going to run through a couple of things with you. One, obviously you need to be seen the whole time, which we can see you, so we appreciate that. 2, I just need to check that you can hear us and that we can hear you. So can you please just, yep, thank you. And the last thing we need to ask you, Councillor Ross, is do you have any conflicts of interest in relation to tonight's council agenda? Sorry, what? I can't hear Councillor Ross. No, you're on mute, Councillor Ross, sorry. No. I can't hear Councillor Ross, so we'll check back in on that. I understand, shaking your head, but I think we need to be. Yeah, great. All right, we're going to just proceed for the moment. All right, the next agenda item has a conflict of interest. So we're going to pause here and ask Councillor Thompson to leave. And we'll note in the minutes that at 7:38 p.m, Councillor Thompson left the chamber. All right, Councillor Thompson's left the chamber. We can hear that, Councillor Ross.
Hi there, Wayne.
Councillor Ross, can you mute Councillor Ross?
No, I'm on the council laptop. I can hear everything and I can see everything. Yeah. I believe so. I'm down the bottom. Yeah. Anyway, not a problem. Thank you.
Councillor Ross, can you hear us?
I certainly can.
Great.
You can hear me?
We
Yep.
can. Can you please go back on mute now?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Let's proceed. We're going to go to agenda item 7.2.3, proposed sale of Army Road Hall, Pakenham Upper. The officer recommendation is that Council 1 gives public notice of its intent to sell Lot 1 on TP 238546B and Lot 1 on TP 29705C, known as the Army Road Hall at Pakenham Upper, to the Cardinia Civic Concert Band for the certified valuation sum of $20,000, excluding GST, plus costs. 2, in accordance with requirements of the Local Government Act 2020 and Council's Community Engagement Policy, undertakes community engagement for a period of 4 weeks in relation to the proposed sale. And 3, provides a report to the November 2025 Council meeting with results of the community engagement and to determine if the sale proceeds. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. I move the officer's recommendation, please.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Roberts. Over to you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Roberts. So, as the report says, the Army Road Hall at Army Road, Pakenham Upper, is owned by Cardinia Shire Council. The building is in overall poor state, and the major defects and substantial wear and tear as a result of the age of the building, minimal capital investment. Currently, the most recent tenant was a Cardinia Civic Concert Band. Decisions in relation to this property are complex, and from the perspective of the band or other potential future users, maintaining existing use rights under the planning scheme is a critical factor in this recommendation. So that is a critical part of this. We're only months away of the permit expiring for existing use rights. The band has a strong history in Cardinia Shire, amazing history. Started off as the Pakenham Brass Band, and in the 90s, they changed their name to the Cardinia Civic Concert Band. It previously was a Section 86 Committee of Council. So there's a strong connection with the band to the Shire. So unfortunately, they've had to move out of the hall, and they're currently accommodated in Narnagoon. But they definitely would like to return to the hall. And this proposal by officers is proposing to sell it to the Cardinia Civic Concert Band. It is in line with best practice. The report does talk about what is best practice. The valuation are correct. The certified valuation acknowledges the state of the building, the significant planning controls around the site. So the estimate, the valuation is certified, and I fully support that. So this report proposes to offer it to the Cardinia Civic Concert Band. I appreciate it'll be a challenge for them to raise money to purchase it and also rectify the building to ensure it's suitable for their purposes. But let's go out to community consultation. Let's engage with the band to see if it's possible. And obviously that will go out for community engagement, and a report will come back for us to consider. But I'll pause there, let my councillor colleagues talk to this item further. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. I do acknowledge that the band needs a suitable rehearsal space, and that they feel that there's certain needs that can be met by them having a single-use facility, even though we are working really these days towards having multi-use facilities for organisations. I support the community engagement occurring on this option to sell, and note Councillor Owen's mention of the existing right to use which expire in this coming February. That's why there is some urgency around this matter. My preference is that if the building is sold to the concert band, that some issues around the land title are also dealt with. At the moment, part of the building sits in the road reserve, and to rectify this would be a good time to do that. If passed, I look forward to hearing from the community at large about how they feel about this. As Councillor Owen mentioned, we've had a certified valuation for the land and the building. The building, it does need work, definitely needs work. And I do encourage the concert band to think hard about how they want to take this on, not to get caught up in nostalgia about their memories of this place that they have, and to really do their own due diligence during this time. It's really important that they do that. They are. I think of it much like when you go to a discount rack of, not that the valuation is discount, but a discount rack at the shops, and buy an item with a stain on it, and you take it home, you can't return it. So we do acknowledge that there's work to be done on the building, and there may be some grants available for that, but that isn't something that can be guaranteed. So I really look forward to hearing from the community during this engagement process, and I hope that council can work through this with the band. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Potter.
Thanks to the officers who have put this together. Thank you. I compliment you on the ethical way it's been handled with best practice in mind. And to my fellow councillors for their insights, thank you. It's a big project. I feel like there's life in the old hall yet. I feel like this one has community spirit at the heart of it. Community engagement will be important and interesting to hear. And it's worth mentioning that Cardinia band is the oldest band of its type in Australia. Amazing. It dates back to the 1800s, and it's been the cultural cornerstone for our local community for well over a century. As a community, we all know and love this band. They are the band who plays at the Cardinia Christmas carols every year before the fireworks in Pakenham. They have around 50 members of all ages and abilities, supporting musicians via a mentor program for 6 years to 86 years. And they've been in this hall for about 24 years, and it's a long time to have played all that beautiful music in the hall. And the walls would be filled with all the good vibrations of the instruments. And that's something pretty special. I hope our community agrees through the community engagement, and personally I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Start my timer. I have heard complaints about the confidential nature of the valuations that are not in the report. These, as Councillor Owen mentioned, these are independent valuations, certifiably so, but they also contain sale information on other properties to be used as comparison. And it's written in the reports that they can't be released. What can be released is a substantial detail from those reports. So nothing in there that isn't relevant to this property. What we have released is the value of the block as is. That's $20,000. And if the building was demolished, roughly $60,000, so $80,000, that would incorporate the demo. There's a $60K difference there. So I think from a valuation perspective, I'm very, very comfortable with where that has landed. And I'm also comfortable with releasing that information, talking publicly about that information, even though we can't actually publish the independent valuations. And I have a note here from the report. Neither the whole nor any part of this report or any reference thereto may be included in any document, circular or statement without our written approval of the form and text in which it will appear, etc., etc. So I think you can see the limitations there that we have in terms of not being able to release it in full. So probably just before I wrap up, I would like to ask a question of the General Manager of Corporate Services, Wayne Mack, if that's okay. In relation to this process, can council engage a suitably qualified sort of probity advisor or auditor to help us through navigating this process with the band?
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Thanks for the question. Absolutely, the best practice guidelines do talk about engaging probity advisors for direct sales. So yes, we will engage a probity advisor for this one.
That's good. Thank you. I think that's the appropriate thing to do in this instance. All right, I'm going to leave my comments there. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Councillor Pomeroy.
I think it's important to note that it's not common to recommend a direct sale of a property, and I'm glad it's not, because this one has jumbled around in my head for a bit, but I'm super comfortable tonight with where we seem to be landing. I do want to really thank the other users of the Narnagoon Soldiers Memorial Hall. The band does have a home at the moment, and that is through lots of work of lots of people to make sure that they did have somewhere to go, and they have a lease for the next 2 years. So my advice, I'm going to reiterate Councillor Roberts here, band, really determine whether this is the right move for you. There are major defects, substantial wear and tear. And if the band doesn't purchase this site, council will need to demolish the building. So the retention of the building really honours the use of the hall by the Army Road Progress Association in the late 1950s. And prior to that, the site was the Pakenham North School. So a southern parcel of this land is actually a gift to council, and the other one was transferred by the Minister of Education for a small fee. So I think that the fact that it will remain within community use as opposed to being demolished is super important. And I think it's also important to note that should the property be acquired by the band, a condition would be included in the contract to sale that will see the land returned to council if the organisation is wound up. So I really look forward to, as well as you, to seeing what comes back in the community engagement, but I do think it is time to let the community have their say on this proposed way forward.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Councillor Colin Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. I think this is a really good alternate way of approaching different issues. In times of lack of funds, council would like to assist community groups such as the civic band. It is a different way. We haven't in the past gone down this pathway of directly selling it to different groups, but I think it is a really good alternative. I'll be interested to see what they can do about it and the community's interest in this, but it is a different way. It's an innovative way, and it gives them a bit of responsibility. Council can assist where we can, and we'll just like to see where this goes. But I think it is a viable alternative for them, and it's up to them now to see how much money they can raise and whether they can have their own facility rather than always going and looking for someone else to provide a facility for them. This might be a solution to some of our issues in these areas. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I'll go to Councillor Trudy Payton.
Thanks everyone for your comments about this. And I've had some talk with band members as well, and I echo all of the comments that have been made. I think we're all on the same page with this pretty much, especially Councillor Pomeroy saying, you know, this has rattled around in all of our heads in the past week or two. A couple of extra comments that I'll make is that I'm really aware of the difficulty that the band will face to find funding to purchase this building and then funding to upgrade and repair to the extent that is required, because bank accounts for performance groups like this are often only as big as the ticket sales of their last performance. You know, you run on the smell of an oily rag in these little non-profit performing groups because they don't attract big funding like some of the sporting clubs and that sort of thing. Anyway, I thank the council officers for doing all of the work that they have in, you know, a relatively short time. I first asked questions about this hall back at our April meeting, so it's great that we can now look at getting some answers for the band. And in time, I think there is some time, not too much, before the deadline date of the licence expiring in February. I do see, you know, from a practical point of view, it's a bit confusing that council can't allow any staff or any people to go into the hall, even to assess it prior to its being sold. But after it being sold, the band are free to use it as they will. So there's, you know, a bit of contrast in the duty of care there. Just want to also comment that the history shows that the band were originally written into the construction plans of the Cardinia Cultural Centre. They changed their name at that time to become the Cardinia Civic Concert Band and expected to have their own permanent residency in the building. Budget meant at the time that the practice wing was scrapped, and to compensate, the council allowed the band to move into Army Road Hall. So there's more discussion needed about the band's future and the CCC, and I don't want this sale proposal to restrict their chances. So fully support this going out to community engagement now and to get wider comments. I think the band has a big job ahead to decide what's their core operations, what's their nostalgic look at things, and how do they want to protect their heritage, and hoping that somebody from the community might even jump on board and assist their progress with that. So support the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors, for other comments. I'll support the motion, but yeah, it's with great hesitation that I do. At the moment, this building for me and several of our other public halls scattered around the Shire reinforced to me the importance of the asset renewal program that this council's embarking on, which is a far more rigorous approach to actually regularly assessing the state of our assets and making sure they don't deteriorate to the point where we've sort of faced these kinds of dilemmas where we're actually talking either demolish them or spend millions to refurbish them. How we've allowed ourselves to get to that point with so many community assets, I don't know, but we're at where we're at. So here we have a creative solution. It is a creative solution to resolve this dilemma. If we were to restore this building to the point where it is functional and safe, the report on page 120, I think it is, of this report states that it's a $1.6 million spend. So we have an asset with a book value of around $500,000. When the closer level of scrutiny that's required to actually prepare the asset for sale has been applied, the reality of the tens of thousands of dollars demolition cost, all of the environmental constraints and site constraints of the building and the site and its location come into play, and it's worth a very small amount. So if this community group that is the current tenant or has been the majority tenant for the life of this building wants to buy it at that rate, they're taking on an enormous liability. And so it's my personal belief that this would be a community effort in support of the band to actually get this thing back and running. We're talking pro bono work from plumbers, pro bono work from sparkies, pro bono work from carpenters. We're talking a true community effort to get this building working. Otherwise, that band will be looking at a decade-long project, begging, scraping for money, when really the passion of the volunteers is for making music and making community music and teaching kids and giving them an opportunity to practice music. So I urge the band's committee. There's a lot of sentimental attachment to the building. Unfortunately, it's been allowed to reach a state where it's not usable. I urge them to seriously consider the low value for the site, and the building at the moment is very, very tempting, but I urge them to seriously consider their decision and what they're going to be taking on. And I hope that the rest of the community, through the engagement process, pricks up their ears and maybe some community-minded hands go up across the Shire to help them out.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? No, I'm going to go back to you, Councillor Owen, to summarise.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to all councillors for your contribution. It's great to hear your contribution. Just in conclusion, the report talks about the advantages to ownership by the band. If the band were to purchase this property, it will provide the organisation ownership and put them in control of their future. From all the options considered, sale to the band is deemed the quickest and surest way to secure existing use rights. It is officer's opinion that the band would be able to undertake necessary maintenance works at an affordable cost to reoccupy the building and thus protect the existing use rights. I acknowledge Councillor Nicol's comments and I fully support them. It will be a community effort. The band will be able to apply for grants from various organisations, whether it's philanthropic or even councils through the Community Capital Works grants. Councils have been informed that they would be eligible under the Community Capital Works grants. So that is really important. In their supporting documents, the Cardinia Civic Concert Band talks about that they're not just a musical ensemble. They are a vital part of the cultural and social fabric of the Cardinia Shire community. Its historical significance, contributions to the community wellbeing and a role in promoting inclusivity, accessibility, underscore the importance of its survival. So, as the motion says, we're going to go out to the community with this proposal, engage with the band to see if it's possible. So I look forward to those discussions happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. So we'll put the officer's recommendation to 7.2.3 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. All right, let's pause there. We'll ask Councillor Thompson back in the room. All right, following the closure of that item, we note Councillor Thompson is back in the room at 8:01 p.m. We'll go to 7.3.1, Draft Narnagoon Township Strategy and Community Engagement. The officer recommendation here is that Council 1 notes the feedback from Phase 1 of community engagement, including the survey responses and written submissions. 2, endorses in principle the following documents for the purpose of seeking community and stakeholder feedback. They are A, Narnagoon Township Strategy 25 to 40, Part A, Background and Planning Context, Draft for Exhibition, Attachment 4. B, Narnagoon Township Strategy 25 to 40, Part B, Understanding Narnagoon, Draft for Exhibition, Attachment 5. C, Narnagoon Township Strategy 25 to 40, Part C, Strategic Framework, Draft for Exhibition, Attachment 6. And finally, 3, supports the commencement of Phase 2 community engagement during October and November 2025. That's a big recommendation. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Pomeroy.
I'd like to move as per the officer recommendation.
Thank you. We note that. Is there a seconder? I see Councillor Thompson. Over to you, Councillor Pomeroy.
For the community of Narnagoon, it is clear that expectations around the development of this strategy that have been going on for more than a decade are high. Having joined this process fairly recently, in Feb I attended the Narnagoon Progress Association meeting, and it was very clear that the expansion of the town footprint included in the strategy and drainage are the 2 items that the community really wanted to see addressed in this strategy. There is concern that what is considered Narnagoon Township to locals, especially the homes near St James, are not even included as part of this plan. Reasoning provided in the report is that the expansion of the town boundary into the Green Wedge is not supported by state planning policy or supported by the Western Port Green Wedge Management Plan, and as part of the scope, determined that as part of council's scope, there was a determination that no expansion into the Green Wedge will be considered. However, I think it's important to note, and I encourage you to read, that there are a number of submissions that spoke to the need and the benefits of the expansion. Examples have been provided, and they range significantly from 2,000 standard residential dwellings to 91 rural lots, a minimum of 2 hectares each. They are all included in the feedback report and are certainly worth a read. There was also general engagement. Protecting the Green Wedge zone, 28 responses were in support of. Expanding the township boundary, 41 responses were in support of. Preserving small town charm, 40 supported, and maintaining rural lifestyle, 50 responses. I think it's important to really note that we've had 135 responses on the Narnagoon Township strategy, and that's just Phase 1 engagement. Now that's super impressive and is higher than most of the engagements that we've held this year. So I'll go on. Drainage hasn't really been resolved in the strategy, but part of this is down to the Melbourne water flood mapping. It does include and has noted in the strategy that we will look to explore initiatives to formalise drainage infrastructure, road sealing, managing swales on private land, establishing easements, shared maintenance agreements, service changes, or other viable solutions. And I look forward to continued updates on these ones. I encourage residents, if you don't have a chance to read it all, to look at the Framework C. Across the document, we talk to heaps and heaps of strategies and initiatives, heaps of initiatives that are pulled from other strategies across council. And this highlights a major flaw with all our master plans and strategies we have, because each of these initiatives have been pulled from somewhere else. And they are things for like equestrian paths on verges, walking paths on both sides of the road, all these things that will cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. And I'm not sure council can ever afford. And these sit in the strategy, and part of the engagement will help us to see where the community have ranked them. So I really look forward to that. I will have a chat a bit further, but I will throw it out to councillors to have their say.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. Clearly, great minds think alike, because that's about 75% of the things that I had written down have been covered off by Councillor Pomeroy. So I'll try not to double up too much. It is 100% worth noting that Narnagoon is the first rural township that's located east of the metropolitan urban growth boundary, but does sit within the environmentally sensitive Western Port Green Wedge. Unlike Garfield and Bunyip, Narnagoon and next door neighbour Tynong lack an urban growth boundary or a township strategy, hence the need for this to be going ahead and this community engagement to obviously be undertaken. As part of the limitations scope part of the community engagement, a line that's worth pulling out is, despite pressures to expand, state and local policies do not support rezoning the Green Wedge land for urban use. And this was also highlighted by Councillor Pomeroy, mentioning that the township boundaries are within the low density rural zone, but it doesn't capture those properties that are within the Green Wedge, but still do account for a lot of significance to the people of Narnagoon, who are still residents of Narnagoon and have the postcode 3812. A few points I would like to point out, and sorry if I do double up with a couple of the figures that I do pull out of the report from Councillor Pomeroy might have already mixed-use developments within the township itself. So making sure that Narnagoon stays a rural town and maintains that rural character is clearly important. But I will be supporting this and very keen to hear about phase 2 of community engagement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, councillors. Look, I would commend the township strategy draft for the next phase of community engagement, acknowledging that some of the difficult conversations that have been had around the extent of what is township Narnagoon, not Narnagoon district, but township Narnagoon. I think it's great that it's settled. One of the things that I have in mind is the note that was made regarding the pending Melbourne water flood studies. It's very important that those studies do come back to us in the context of that Narnagoon area, because the last thing that we would want to be doing is allowing further more intensive township or urban development across a wider area and putting more people and their future assets in the way of future weather events, especially in an era where insurance companies are withdrawing coverage as data becomes clearer and clearer regarding flood potential. So, that is one of the things sort of governing this, sort of restricting this conversation about what's the township size in the future. And again, this phase of engagement, it will be interesting to see what community says about that. The other point that has been made already is also a lived experience from myself from my time on the Gembrook Township Committee. And when that township strategy was created many, many years ago, is that intention of the action plans, that back then they were written as actions. And it's a massive community letdown when those actions don't roll out. Whereas here, the new way of writing these township strategies puts forward design principles and what we would like the township to be, and then puts forward the sorts of initiatives that can help make that happen, but it puts them forward clearly as what they are. It's potential, it's initiatives, it's a strategy. It's not an action plan, it's a strategy. The broad picture is we would like Nargoon to look like this over the next 25 years. If you're going to do projects in Nargoon, these are the sorts of things we want to do. And that is great because it means that council and community can work side by side on those types of projects. The third thing I'd like to mention about why this strategy is so important, I really urge Nargoon folks to get behind it and have a look at it and have your say at this round of engagement, is that it sets that tone of what Nargoon wants to be, what it wants to look like, and the sorts of things that are important. And so it's critical for council to integrate this strategy once it's proved and once it's set up with the planning scheme, because that means that someone new moves into town, wants to build some bloody monstrosity in Main Street or whatever, they've got that guidance in front of them, and the locals and council alike can point to the strategy and say, well, that's not going to cut it. That's not what the community wants for the future. So it's a really important document. I'm glad that it's gotten to this point. There's still points of contention, and that's what this round is for.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. I'll just be very, very brief. It has taken a while to get here. And, you know, speaking to many people in Nargoon over very many years, there's very many different opinions on what the future of Nargoon should, could, would look like. I think the best thing to do from our perspective is to put out what we have, what we're thinking, and get that feedback directly. So, yeah, I'm pleased that we're at this point tonight. I just want to thank and congratulate two people. One is Lorna. Thank you for all the work that you've done. And the second person is our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Pomeroy, on picking this up and running with it and doing a lot of work from a council public-facing perspective on this one. I think you should be commended. I understand this isn't the last time we will see this. This is in its draft form. But I think it's okay to take a point in time and say, I'm pleased that it's going out, and we'll see what comes back. Thank you. Are there any other speakers? Councillor Trudy Payton.
Thanks, everybody, for a really comprehensive rundown of what's occurred to create this strategy to get us to where it is, and also outlining the community response that we've had to date and what we'd really like to hear to move things forward once we go out to community engagement. I'll just add the extra comment that in terms of the development plan, the plan of development that we have for the Green Wedge and the protection of that land, as many who have listened into these council meetings or been a part of discussions in the past, you know, the planning scheme is very protective of and it prevents farmers from being able to add dwellings out on the Green Wedge. And so when we're looking at the urban growth boundary in Nargoon, because it, you know, it's surrounded by Green Wedge, we have to be certain that if we are increasing the density within that urban growth boundary, there's going to be enough dwelling space for any farmers, and that the farmers, any commercial enterprises that are developed within the town actually support the farming communities that are surrounding in the wider Nargoon district. And yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll go to Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I think it's really important to acknowledge the community for getting involved in this issue. If you actually look at the percentage of population in that area or landowners in relation to how many people responded, it's a very, very high percentage. And community engagement's all about hopefully in the end getting buy-in from the community, listening to their views and working with them. That way you get a much better result. I think it's excellent. I look forward to seeing what their further feedback is, and I hope they're not discouraged by what it might read. If they're not supportive of it, they come forward, they let us know what we could do to tweak it or change it, or explain to them why you might or might not be able to do what they'd like to do. Anyway, I think it's a really good start. I think it's great that they're involved, and I wish other communities within Cardinia Shire would get involved with their responses like this. So then we do have a true reflection of their view. Anyway, that was it. Thank you, Mayor.
No, thank you, Councillor Ross, for your contribution. Are there any other speakers to this item? No, we'll go back to Councillor Pomeroy to sum us up.
Thank you, and thank you to all councillors. It's very rare to drive through Nagoon without seeing people out walking, and I'm happy to see the following highlighted in the document: a new trail connecting the railway towns, maintenance of existing footpaths, and a safe crossing near the post office, both ways to reach the footpath and train station safely. I'd love to think that was there in time for my children, but it won't be, but it would be great to see. A master plan for the rec reserve is identified, as is the need for more passive space. One I'm super keen to hear back from the community about is the murals. This is a mural town, and there's initiatives in there such as avoid blank walls in new developments and encourage mural treatments where appropriate. I think it's really important that the community decides whether that's still the pathway that they want to go down. Murals are incredibly expensive to upkeep, and I understand and I've seen the hours and efforts community members put in trying to get grants for these. A key aim of the strategy really is the urban design guidelines, and people have touched on these, but I think it's super important because when planning permit applications come before council, this is what the planners will look at. So make sure that you're having a look at those pictures and reading the descriptions. It will serve as a really important document for council. So I look forward not only to seeing the implementation plan, but absolutely engagement from the community. And I thank the community, but also the officers for facilitating the 2 rounds of engagement. This was planned to only have 1 round of engagement, and we decided to do some early on following the Progress Association meeting. So this is a draft that has resulted from that, but this is the real draft now. The draft comes out, you get to have your say, and it will shape the final document. So thank you mainly to the community for being so open to give your feedback. It's vital. I'm not saying I'm very looking forward to coming to the next meeting, but this engagement will be open in time for the Nagoon Progress Association AGM. So it will sit over that. So you can come and have your say and then submit your responses post that. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.3.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. 7.3.2, review draft O'Neill Road Rec Reserve Master Plan Community Engagement. The recommendation here is that Council endorse the revised draft of the O'Neill Road Rec Reserve Master Plan to progress to community engagement. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Owen.
I move the council endorses the revised draft O'Neill Road Recreation Reserve Master Plan to progress to community engagement. Officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? I see Councillor Nicol. Back to you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Nicol. So the last master plan for the O'Neill Road Recreation Reserve in Beaconsfield was conducted in 2018. The review was deemed necessary, though, for several reasons, including developments within and around the reserve that could affect the proposed functional layout. The needs of user groups and stakeholders had changed since that time, and the requirement of authorities such as Melbourne Water, Vic Roads. This review presented an opportunity to address these issues comprehensively and establish the future strategic direction of the reserve. So obviously there is the draft, there's recommendations in that draft, and some of them include 2 junior soccer pitches, upgrades to the sports field and cricket pitch, a new neighbourhood level sports pavilion, so a basic sports pavilion, small, possibly modular. The position of that pavilion has changed. It's more centrally located of the reserve to facilitate a new car park, which will be also centrally located, that will benefit the play space, which is really important to get cars off Janet Bowman Boulevard, to get them off into a safer area for families to get out of their cars and access the play equipment. There's proposed for connecting footpaths, installation of outdoor fitness stations, installation of barbecue and picnic facilities and landscaping. So that is detailed in the report. The report does talk about the financials around this, and at this stage, it doesn't appear delivery of these items. It doesn't appear in our current budgets, but as the report does say, when we do audit assessments of our infrastructure, it may appear in those sort of priorities in future budgets. We are going out to community engagement. I think it's really important, and I'm hoping that our community, and particularly our sporting community and people of lovers of this recreation space, to really engage with that. It's a bit like a chicken and egg sort of scenario. At the moment, you've got a playing field, no sport change rooms. So there is a reluctance for the community to use it because you just don't have any infrastructure there. There's a builder's dunny on site. That's what users of the reserve can use at the moment. So I want to hear from them. What's their willingness to relocate to this rec reserve if these basic facilities were introduced to this reserve? So I really want to hear from them. In the past, back in 2018, there was an appetite for the officer and district soccer club to go there. That club has grown, and they're probably unlikely to want to use this facility. So I want to hear whether it is the Beaconsfield Football Club. Do they have other priorities at other reserves? I want to hear. So council has a clear direction of where we go with this master plan. So please, can I encourage residents to provide feedback, obviously through our website. But I'll pause there and let other councillors speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, I would support the officer's recommendation and just note the quality of the draft that's actually been laid out and some of the insights that have already been gained by the officers and integrated into the report. As Councillor Rowan has laid out, it's up to the community to get behind this and provide your feedback around what are the potential uses, what are the visions, what are your current uses of this reserve, so that council becomes fully informed and can integrate that into the final master plan layout. It also highlights to me with open spaces across Cardinia Shire the importance of master plans guiding investment choices that and grant funding applications that council is going to be making into the future. As these facilities proliferate across the Shire, resources and attention get spread thinner and thinner. So the importance of plans that communities behind and supportive of become more and more critical. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, master plans are what's called, I suppose, a necessary evil. If you don't have master plans, you won't get the funding, you won't get the grants, and the state and federal government and different people won't look at where they can invest the money into these projects. So they are needed on all these projects. Unfortunately, they rise communities' expectations when they see figures like $5.1 million, and they have an expectation that it will be built in the near future, because if you put it up there, it's in their face and they see it and they like what they see. Unfortunately, in times when money is tough, the money just isn't around to do these things. So I hope the community has a true realisation when they come back to council that these are things that we would like to put in, and funding hopefully one day will come. In the short term, the money isn't there unless they can get some money off state or federal government to get it towards it. But without the master plan, we can't do it. So look, it is great to see that we have set it on an ideal out there on what we would like to see. As Councillor Owen said, it's extremely frustrating when you have these sort of reserves that have been there for years and years that are used by the community. Unfortunately, just haven't had the development because of the lack of funds and money. And then over time, as money changes and the things that you can do with money, you just can't do what you could do 10 or 20 years ago. So anyway, I look forward to seeing what their feedback is. We have to have these master plans, otherwise you won't get the grants. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. If there's no other speakers, I'll go back to you, Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you all other councillors who spoke. O'Neill Road Rec Reserve is very important. Beaconsfield has a population of 7,000 and it continues to grow. We've got Glisman Road in the future that may develop. There's plans in place for additional dwellings there, which is very close by to this reserve, abutting. And also the growth of Officer, even Beaconsfield to the east around Whiteside Road. There's significant residential to come. So it's really important that we invest in such recreational spaces to support our growing community in Beaconsfield. Yeah, I look forward to getting the community feedback. I really look forward to that. I want people to see, to really put forward their thoughts on this master plan, their future intention to use this rec reserve, whether it's sporting clubs or other community groups. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. So we'll put the officer recommendation for item 7.3.2 up for a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. 7.4.1, the 24-25 draft annual financial and performance statements. The recommendation is that Council 1 approves in principle the draft 24-25 annual financial statements and the draft 24-25 performance statement attached to this report. 2, authorises the Principal Accounting Officer to make any changes recommended by the Victorian Auditor General's Office or their agent, HLB Man Judd. 3, authorises Councillors Kowaczyk and Payton or other delegates, if required, to certify the annual financial statements and the performance statement in their final form after any changes that may be recommended and agreed to by the Victorian Auditor General's Office. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Trudy Payton.
Thank you, Mayor. This motion requires us to approve the 24-25 annual financial statements and performance statements.
Councillor Payton, you're moving this item. I just need to get a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Is there a seconder for this item?
I move the report as noted. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Nicoll is your seconder and you're away. Apologise.
Sorry, nerves get the better of me. This motion requires us to approve the 24-25 annual financial statements and performance statements. The statements are currently in draft form, ready to be signed off by Alison Southwell, Council's Principal Accounting Officer, and the Mayor and me in my capacity as representative of the Audit and Risk Committee. The statements have been reviewed and reported on by the Victorian Auditor General's Office, otherwise known as VARGO, and their appointed agent, HLB Man Judd. VARGO provided a report to Council and to the Audit and Risk Committee, and I'm satisfied that their requests for changes, which were minor, have been completed. I'd like to highlight some of the key outcomes from this year's results. Firstly, the statements have been prepared in line with all relevant standards, including the Australian Accounting Standards and Interpretations, the Local Government Act 2020 and the Local Government Planning and Reporting Regulations 2020. Secondly, Council's financial position remains strong. Our working capital is positive, confirming our ability to meet commitments as they fall due. In addition, debt servicing and indebtedness ratios are well within prudential guidelines and consistent with Council's long-term financial plan. Looking at the results, the comprehensive operating surplus was $123.9 million compared with a budgeted $75.3 million. This outcome was driven by early receipt of financial assistance grants, which in fact translate to about 18 months that we're reporting of income in this 12-month period, which skews the bottom line, but officially must be recognised during this year. There are some major build projects, being the Upper Beaconsfield Pavilion and Coralline Pavilion, which sit on Crown land. This means that they can't be capitalised into the balance sheet, but expensed into the income statement, which affects our underlying surplus. On an adjusted basis, Council achieved a modest underlying surplus of $0.2 million, which compares favourably to the budget. On the balance sheet, Council ended the year with net assets of $3.45 billion, an increase of 264 million, largely reflecting capital works and asset revaluations. Council's closing cash and cash equivalents balance was about 25 million. This reflects both careful cash management and the repayment of older loan facilities, alongside new borrowings to support our capital works program. In summary, these results confirm that Council remains in a sound and sustainable financial position, ensuring we can continue to deliver vital services and infrastructure for our community now and into the future. Thank you, Mayor. I'll leave it to other councillors to make their comments.
Thank you, Councillor Payton. I'll go to Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Payton. Yes, I commend this report to the council and to the community. It's a very thorough report that looks at multiple levels of how council is conducting its finances, and overall it paints a positive picture in terms of how we are handling the community's money. There are a few, in particular, I'd like to sort of point out the financial and performance statements, which occur a little bit deeper into this report that's been handed to us tonight. Once you scroll down to around page 640 of the council papers, or page 13 of the report, a couple of items I would just like to call out, which just re-emphasise the scale of the task that's in front of Cardinia to continue to keep our growth in rates for households across the Shire reasonably capped and flat, as close to inflation as we possibly can. But there's a cost to that. There's a cost to that. And that is the loans and borrowings figures. We can see this year at a figure that's 9.89%, which is interest-bearing and loans and borrowings divided by our rate revenue. But into the forward years, that grows to 14%, 26%, 38%, 44%, 49%, based on our current planning for the work that we have to do that's ahead of us. Loans and borrowings, likewise, sit at a very reasonable 2.6%, which is interest and principal repayments on interest-bearing loans and borrowings divided by our rate revenue. But again, into the forward years, that turns into 9.6%. Then there's a low year, 2.2%. Then it goes to 5, 8, 11, and it's an upward trend again. Our indebtedness has been brought down in the previous 3 years quite significantly and now sits at 13.09%, which is non-current liabilities divided by our own source revenue, so our rates, not grants, not money that falls from the sky from the state and federal governments, but our ability to generate revenue. It currently sits at an indebtedness level of 13%, but into the future that moves to 16, 24, 31, 34, 35% into the forward years for future councils to deal with. So financial decisions that we make over the next few years regarding assets, expenditure, have a trade-off. So financial decisions that we make over the next few years regarding assets, expenditure, have a trade-off. If we're going to keep our ability to generate income flat and not hit our ratepayers with ever-increasing rates, there's a debt to be paid for that, literally. And that's my concern for the future.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. Are there any other councillors who would like to speak to this item? Councillor Alana Pomeroy.
I think there's some great figures in that performance report, not only for now, and some I'd like to pull out are planning marketable increase from 31% in 2023 up to 50.5% in 2025, and that will continue to improve. I note earlier in the report we talk about gifted assets. It's an interesting term, isn't it, when state government comes and does a heap of projects and then they gift the assets to council and we maintain them. So That's an interesting one. But I really like these forecasts through to 2029, and I thank Councillor Nicol for pulling out some of the ones that are a concern, and they do drive our decisions. And you can see when we sit in this chamber and we really consider, you know, a lot of things, this is why. The debt of council and the increasing debt and where we go, it is a concern. It is a concern for each of us, and it's great to see that the reports and VAGO and the audit and everything is coming back to say that what we are doing is right and it's sound. But I do have concerns for the future, but I also have concerns for the following council. And I think it is an important check-in to say we're going okay, have every confidence in that, but it is decision after decision after decision can easily move this. So it's a good report, and it's a very timely reminder as we head into the development and the endorsement of our council plan.
Thank you. Are there any other councillors to speak to this item? I want to thank our staff who do a power of work to ensure that these are ready. I've been recently welcomed back to the Audit and Risk Committee as an observer, thanks to Councillor Nicol and Councillor Payton. And the comments from the auditor and things like that are very complimentary of our staff and the timely manner in which they get things ready, in the professional manner and how they respond to questions. And I think that shouldn't be lost on anyone. And I hope our community know that and feel confident that we have one of the best financial teams getting around in terms of how we address things. I think all other speakers have rightly pointed out challenges that we are facing at the moment. Of course, I've been, talking for years about the underlying result, and it's something that we continue to manage, and it is a challenge for a growth area council such as ours. I think, Councillor Pomeroy, you've summed it up well. We are going okay, but there needs to be a continued conversation around level of service delivery. There's an interesting statistic here around, rates concentration, and the reliance of this council on rates and how we get past that and how we evolve. This absolutely, and I think with the next item that's coming up soon, in terms of long-term financial plan, these are really going to help us guide, for the rest of this term, but also for next council term too. A fantastic check-in point. But yeah, lots more work still to do, I think it's fair to say. We're going okay. And I think other growth area councils at the same sort of trajectory as us have been in much worse financial positions in the past, but it's not a fait accompli, and we still have to continue working hard at it. All right, that's enough from me. Any other speakers? Or I'll go back to Councillor Payton to sum us up.
Thank you all, councillors, for your comments, and all very relevant. VAGO's agent addressed members of the council's Audit and Risk Committee a couple of weeks ago, and he said that most of the queries and proposed changes were cleaning up comments in terms of disclosures relating to asset costing and nothing major. The closing report for these statements unpacks each of the key risks identified in council's risk management strategy that were listed months ago. Under each of the key risks, nothing of substance was reported, and so I am comfortable, based on advice from our independent panel members and the external and internal auditors, that there's nothing in the statements to be concerned about from a governance perspective. But that is notwithstanding the actual performance and operating position and the future trajectory that we find ourselves on. One of the important comments made by VAGO is that they look at a year-on-year comparison, which would otherwise highlight issues rising. Council staff and the Audit and Risk Panel members acknowledge that Cardinia Council needs to continue working on maturing its asset management processes. A lot of work has been done in recent years, and this continues to be a focus area for improvement. In relation to the fair value of assets, the external auditor has audited all councils' revaluations over the past 5 years and assures us that they've been captured and that Cardinia performs better and ahead of most other local government bodies in this area of asset management. We have an extremely competent team of financial professionals, as our Mayor said, here at Cardinia, knowing the rigorous internal and external auditing that occurs, and then the final screening that is performed by independent panel members on our Audit and Risk Committee. I have full confidence to ask that councillors join me in voting for the approvals requested in this recommendation. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor Payton. So we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.4.1 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. 7.4.2, Draft 25 to 2035 Financial Plan for Adoption in Principle. The officer's recommendation is that Council, in accordance with Section 91 of the Local Government Act 2020, endorse the draft 2025 to 2035 Financial Plan in Principle for community exhibition from the 16th to the 30th of September 2025. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor David Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? I see Councillor Casey Thompson. I'll go back to you, Councillor Nicol.
Thank you. Yes, another critical strategic document that's being tabled tonight, and I refer councillors and the community to the attached report, which makes several very important points strategically that informs the way this council needs to consider financial management in the coming years. In particular, and I would commend the officers for tabling such a thorough report and actually pointing out some of the hard facts that we're looking at. Section 3 talks about some of the principles involved in developing this financial plan, and I'd like to point out Section 3.6, which talks to the development of a financial sustainability strategy, which will be key to informing future financial plans. I'll quote it directly. So I'm quoting from page 656 of the attached documents and page 7 of the financial plan. In section 3.6, Council has a responsibility to current and future communities. As a growth council, a growing population presents significant opportunities. However, this growth also presents challenges that will place substantial demands on Council's financial resources, including higher expectations from a growing community for new and upgraded services, pressures of maintaining amenity in rural and fringe areas and across many established townships, and an asset renewal requirement that is increasing as we grow. The report then goes on to list how we will approach the sustainability strategy in response to some of those challenges. It then lists strategic actions that are going to be taken in the life of this financial plan and lays forward a path that is very thorough and is nothing short of what this council should be doing with the public finances that we're charged with being custodians of. So I commend this report to councillors and the community. I would encourage community members to read it. It's pretty dry, but I would hope that it would assure you that this council is taking its handling of public money very seriously.
Thank you, Councillor Nicol. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Nicol. Wholeheartedly agree with everything you've mentioned. It is a very, very important document, and I'd like to just quickly thank all the officers who have put time and effort into this document. It's absolutely massive mountain of work, but a special shout out to Alison, our CFO, for the time and effort and the rejigging and taking our thoughts and comments on board and then coming back with different models, different scenarios and things like that. It has been a very thorough, robust, very well considered kind of document that has been given a lot of attention. A couple of things that previously mentioned in 7.4.1, the financial performance statements, is talking about that the underlying deficit that we do have. And then when we look at this 10-year document, the VARGO indicators on page 10 of the report, the ones that are consistently not in our favour are sitting around that adjusted underlying result. So it's really important that we, as a council group, do have financial sustainability as our number one kind of first and foremost priority over the next at least 2, 3, 4 years while we sit around this table. So that's going to come in the forms of things like a service review of how we and what services we deliver, the rates and revenue review, looking at how we can best serve the community and provide services while also remaining fair and equitable to everyone. And it's been mentioned earlier in this meeting, the Investment Advisory Committee looking at alternative streams and revenue and how to maximise, it's not only spending less money, but how we can actually build up more of a stronger financial position. I will leave it there and I will open up the floor to other councillors. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this plan? Councillor Pomeroy.
I think it's important to note of the issues that are outside of our control. We've got a shortfall in developer contributions fund. We expect to build or be gifted 100 million in assets annually. And when the developers don't provide all the money to do that, it's council who meets the shortfall, or it's the community who misses out. So I think it's really, that's big numbers, 100 million each year coming in. I think it's important to note that we, as part of this financial plan, we're saying employee numbers will not increase, yet our community will continue to grow. So this will mean that we need to work differently. We need to look at what we're doing, but we also need to look at the direction and the strategy and the council plan that we are overseeing and make that very clear, because labour costs will go up higher than CPI. Our contractors and consultants will go up higher than CPI, insurance, utility costs, all these things, when you have a rate capped environment, contribute to the financial plan, and they do make massive differences on the indicators below. So I too would like to thank the officers, not only for putting together the plan, but for the last 9 months really taking us through this. Conversations around this started the week we started. So it's great to see that it is here. There is a power of work, but there's also a power of big decisions for us to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. Are there any other speakers to this item? I see Councillor Ross. Oh, yeah. Sorry, the hand's off screen. I've got a tiny little screen, but go ahead, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Council. Look, this really does demonstrate the enormous challenges and opportunities that Council have got. I do note that our Council that we have now has really embraced the opportunity to look into these things and really taken it on board and realises that things are going to be different for councils in future, and we have to view things differently. This will be a moving document, as you know. A 10-year document's a long time and things happen during that time, but I must say it is a really big opportunity for change, for challenges and opportunities to come out of this document, and it is noted all the councillors participate in this area. We all take it on board because we know it will define some of us as a council, changing what we've done in the past and what we do in the future and setting up for future councils. So anyway, I think it's a really good document. I thank all the councillors for participating and really taking it on board. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I'm going to go to Councillor Trudy Payton.
Thanks, everyone. Going to get on my cranky soapbox tonight, so be prepared, buckle in. I've said that I won't support rates increases, so I won't be supporting this financial plan. This 10-year financial plan shows how council can keep things sustainable, fund the community vision, and develop and deliver the council and assets plans. And look, I want to start by acknowledging the huge amount of work that council staff have put into it. The modelling, the spreadsheets, the data, it's massive and it's updated in real time. But to clarify, it's not the detail that I've got a problem with, it's the way that we're going about it. The report states that the reason the finances are under pressure is inflation, material shortages and the rate cap not keeping up with these things. I don't buy that's the full story. The real issue for me is culture. We set our rate targets based on what anticipated expenses that we want to deliver will cost. We don't consider what our ratepayers can afford. Our businesses are failing and general households are stressed to the max. We've got highly expert, highly capable and highly paid executives leading this organisation, yet almost every project ends up with outside consultants brought in. That pushes costs through the roof and takes accountability away from the council. And then there's so-called community engagement. I don't think it's working. We're lucky to get 100 responses on a big project. Some projects get barely a handful. We need to do more to ensure that the community's voice is at the start, middle and end of every project. Otherwise, it's a box-ticking exercise. If instead we pulled together community leaders around the table and even gave parts of the project back to community groups, we'd save money, get better ideas and actually deliver what the people want. Most importantly, though, our council plan itself needs sharper strategy, and I'm really placing a lot of faith in our new CEO, James Collins, to add the strategic lens that's missing in our operations. We need to prioritise spending on the must-haves and put the nice-to-haves in a queue for later. Some projects benefit from a bit of early spend and resourcing, but there's others, like master plans for facilities on Crown land, that don't deliver community benefit with an early spend, because things change over time and this council should be trying to get the best value from every current dollar it spends. What I'm calling for in general is more transparent reporting. Show us clearly what's being spent on consultants, legal fees and council events. Our financial statements are so much better than they used to be, thanks to Alison and her team, but please, we need to do more. And I accept that some data capture and reporting relies on us upgrading our IT systems. So yes, the financial plan is thorough and it's sound. I commend those who've worked on it, but thorough doesn't mean strategic. Until I see a plan that's community-led, transparent and prioritises what we really need over what's nice to have, I can't support it on behalf of the ratepayers who deserve to know where their money is going and who look to me to be their voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Payton. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Liz Roberts.
I just want to note that I'm comfortable with the direction of this plan. One thing Councillor Ross mentioned, and which I want to reiterate, is that things do change and that this plan is reviewed regularly. We're in a situation where there's external factors which could impact on our growth. I mean, one of those, for example, is a new housing scheme that will open up next month in the federal government, which will make the deposit required to get a home lower, which will put more pressure on our growth fronts. People will be coming out here for cheaper housing, and that will, grow that need. And we know that need doesn't necessarily put the rates that we need back in. It doesn't bring in enough development contribution to cover the costs that we have to build what we need to build for our communities to have a good life. We talk a lot as a council about the quality of life that we have here, and often look at statistics compared to inner areas of Melbourne, and we just don't have the facilities and that's that we need. So I'm very conscious of us sometimes needing to borrow money. We need to sometimes borrow money to do the good stuff that make sure that our kids have what they need growing up. We can't have a generation that grow up with not having what people who live closer to Melbourne and are Melbourneites as well as we are now. We're considered part of Melbourne, and it's really important that our community get what they need. This financial plan is trying its utmost to balance the needs for us to be able to raise the families that we have moving here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Are there any other speakers? I'll go back to you, Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, councillors, all for your contribution and many valid points made. In closing, I'd just point people to page 18 of the financial report. which is page 667 of these council papers. And it just reiterates some of the points that were made. And I certainly agree with some of the points that Councillor Payton's made, but also Councillor Roberts, your point just then about balance. But if we have a look at some of the headline figures here, it re-emphasises our dependence on changing the game regarding other forms of revenue. Our rates and charges headline figure stays relatively flat way out to 2035. It doesn't double from the current 132 million odd income. When you look at all the growth pressures and all the new population and their challenges on infrastructure that are brought in place here, plus the ageing assets around the rural parts of the Shire and unmade roads, etc., our operating grants income, both operating and capital, totals no more than 55 million. So that's the chip in from the feds and the state. Our contributions, monetary and non-monetary, so that's the developers, nothing more than 78 million. It is our people, our ratepayers are still doing the heavy lifting to build this community. And that's the point. We need to join, community and council need to join together and put more pressure on other tiers of government. If they want their growth project out here, they should stump up a higher proportion of what that growth project is costing us as a community. On the engagement side, I would just turn us back to section 3.4 up on page 6. Just, excuse me, bear with me while I just
Very briefly, please.
page up.
Over time.
This turns it back to community again. The community panel was asked some of the dilemmas that we had and just asked 3 points. I'll quickly run through them. If you had to choose between council increasing rates above the legislated cap to maintain services or cuts in council services, what would you choose? Should council ask the users of council facilities to pay more to cover the cost of those facilities? Should council pursue revenue through commercial choices and investments? And I'd add a fourth. Should the state and the federal government pay more? And that's something for us all to consider, community and council, into the coming years.
Thanks, Councillor Nichols. So we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.4.2 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. Sorry. We note that Councillor Payton is against. Yeah, my apology, Trudy. 7.4.3, award contract CT 0000. Councillor Ross.
I'd like to move the officer's recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
I haven't finished reading out the item yet. Thank you. That's all right. I'll make sure I get to you. 7.4.3, award contract CT 000067, cleaning services for barbecues and public toilets, including Exeloos. The recommendation here is that Council, 1, awards that contract as follows. To A, Elite Property Care Proprietary Limited, HIGEX, for the cleaning of barbecues and conventional public toilets. B, Storm International Proprietary Limited for the cleaning and preventative maintenance of Exeloo automated public toilets. C, both contracts are for an initial 3-year term expiring 30 September 28 with 3 optional 1-year extensions, subject to available yearly budget and satisfactory contractor review. The combined year 1 contract value is $298,925.29, excluding GST. And finally, 2, delegates the CEO to have the authority to approve up to 10% variation on the total contract value as declared in recommendation 1. Councillor Ross, would you like to move that?
If I could, thank you, Mayor, yes.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? I see Councillor Casey Thompson. Over to you, Councillor Ross.
Just in relation to this, you've actually outlined a fair bit of this, thank you, Mayor. It's a really unique contract, this one. It's been recommended that we divide the contract into 2. So one organisation will take over the, will do the cleaning of the barbecues and conventional public toilets, and the second half of it is to do with the automated exit public loos. Look, this is a really, to a lot of people, this mightn't be that important, but I must say it is extremely important as a council. How we're seen by the community is how we look after the small things. If we've got public toilets, if we've got exaloos, we've got barbecues that people use, we need to make sure that we maintain them to the standard on which we would expect. There's nothing worse than when you hear back from community groups who come to you who say, we have hired or we've used council facilities and they're not cleaned properly, there's rubbish in them and they look terrible. We invest a huge amount of the community's money into like public toilets, into barbecues, all of these facilities we invest so much in. It is a reflection of ourselves if we don't look after them on a daily basis and make sure that they're clean and tidy. So this is a really, really important contract that we are taking on here to expect the groups to do a really good job in reflection of us. So I see that there was 19 different groups who tendered for the contract, which is excellent to see. And I'm sure through the process, we've come up with the right people. I'm sure council will do its endeavour to audit these on a much regular basis than we have been, because from some of the reports, and I've spoken to the stand-in CEO in relation to this, that there's some places that people go to that just aren't acceptable. And examples are, say, at the start of the park run at Rotary Park, to think that some of those toilets aren't functioning, and some people tell us 5 days after they're not functioning. They're used by literally hundreds of people. So we need to do these things right, because then people will trust council to do other things right. Anyway, I like to hear from my fellow councillors on this, and I support that we're spending and investing the money and making sure the community's assets get looked after on a regular basis of a very high standard. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. I'll go to your seconder, Councillor Casey Thompson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Ross, for your comments. Probably just pulling about some of the details of the contracts and how we came to this decision. So within the Shire itself, we have 66 barbecue amenities and 32 conventional public toilets, which has been awarded to the Elite Property Care Group. And we have the 9 Exolute automated toilets, which part of that costing will include specialised servicing and some preventative maintenance, as well as graffiti removal and cleaning as required. So the estimated cost in year 1 of this contract is $298,925, which is currently within the budget forecast that we've put out. Following on from Councillor Ross's point, it was really positive to see the 19 submissions received. Within the actual documentation itself, the tender evaluation, there is evaluation criteria and the weighting to how the decision was effectively decided. And having 19 submissions shows that it means that we're going to get a really good outcome for the community and make sure that we are selecting the right people, as Councillor Ross mentioned. It creates a really competitive environment to make sure that the quality is exactly where we need it to be, where the community expects it to be, but it's also getting the best bang for buck. And it's really good to see that there's quality assurance with all of these. So the ISO accreditation requirements for the health, safety and environment. There's regular performance monitoring and review processes. Community feedback has been integrated into these contracts, as well as warranty compliance for specialised equipment, which all goes back into, ties back into the reassurance that we are going to get consistency of a really, really high standard from these groups. And within this, if they do deliver, then there are 3 one-year extensions built into these contracts. So a really, really positive thing. It's not the most glamorous of things that we ever get to pass through at council level on a Monday night, but still super, super important for our community to make sure that the services and facilities we do have are at the as highest and cleanest standard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. Would anyone else like to contribute to this? There being none, I'm going to go back to you, Councillor Ross, to sum us up.
Thank you, Mayor. Look, this is really important. It's about hygiene. It's showing the community that we care enough to value these sort of things. And it's truly a reflection of I've recently seen other areas where people don't invest in things like this, and it's really appalling. You go into it and you think to yourself, if I can't trust these people in small things, how can I trust them in bigger things? And it's really important that we do invest in this. We make sure that we audit them and we look after them really well, because it's the community who uses them more than we do. So anyway, I look forward to seeing the result out of this, how it comes through, and hopefully we can get some improvement in this area to truly reflect the council we are. We do care for the community, and that's all. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. So we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.4.3 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. 7.4.4 Pakenham Revitalisation Project. The recommendation is that Council 1 awards the contract for RFT 000074 Pakenham Revitalisation Gateway Project to Blue Peak Constructions Proprietary Limited for $3,444,739.35 exclusive of GST. 2, approves the use of any contingency items as outlined in the confidential attachment for the delivery of this contract should they arise throughout the course of the contract. 3, delegates the CEO to have the authority to approve up to a 10% variation on the total contract value as declared in Recommendation 1. And 4, notes that the Manager of Community Infrastructure Delivery will act as Contract Superintendent to perform all contract superintendent functions as required under contract. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Liz Roberts.
I move the officer's recommendation is written. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy. Over to you, Councillor Roberts.
This is a significant milestone for the Pakenham community. The town centre is in much need of a facelift, and the Pakenham Revitalisation Gateway project is the first piece in the puzzle. The contract awardee Blue Peak Constructions Limited offers the best value for the works that will be undertaken in the gateway section of Main Street and Drake Place and into part of Station Street. As part of the tender process, 2 site briefings were scheduled for those interested in putting in for the tender, one in late July and one in early August. Attending one of these was mandatory. 5 submissions were received. One of these submissions was non-conforming. The project, and it's really important to note this, this project is fully funded by external sources rather than council's rate revenue. Level crossing removal project funding makes up 1.1 million, growth area of infrastructure contribution for Drake Place reconfiguration making up 2.8 million, with the total project cost being 3.9. The valuation panel concluded that the tender submitted by Blue Peak Constructions provided best value for the following reasons. It achieved the best score upon evaluation of the method in which the works was going to be carried out, that the works that were going to be carried out in accordance with the specifications required. They had the Blue Peak Constructions had the best program for responding to the site constraints, of which there are many in the main street of Pakenham. They could demonstrate effective communication with the affected businesses and other stakeholders in the area to manage, to minimise disruption. That they were able to demonstrate effective management of the site, traffic and pedestrians. On the passing of this motion tonight, works can commence in October with a break in December to limit the impact on Christmas trade. This is really important for our community and our loyal local businesses. Once complete, pedestrians will be able to get from the train station to the chocolate shop without having to stop for a car. This is something to celebrate. Seriously, this will improve pedestrian safety for our community in the town centre, which we desperately need. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Roberts. Councillor Pomeroy.
I agree. This is really significant and super exciting for those of us that are sitting in the room, but also for the community. And we always get, or I certainly do, get a lot of questions around Pakenham and sort of how dull and tired it is, and that it's not attracting the quality of the commercial and retail and retaining those businesses. So this is a driver for that. It's a driver for safety, but it's also a driver for the economy. And I thank the businesses that continue to show up every day in these areas while we get onto this. I appreciate that we did go out for tender earlier this year and had to go back out. So there's been a lot of talk about this for many years. The funding is there. I look forward to it actually going ahead in October if it's endorsed tonight. I would really like to recognise the disruption right across Pakenham from roadworks and new train stations and community hospitals. Frustration and fatigue is there. We are really mindful of that. And we've got officers working closely with the state on their projects as well to try and sequence these as best as they can be to limit that disruption. But there will be further disruption. And I look forward to it all being well worth it in the end. And if you haven't checked out the images of what this will look like or the plans, there is a website set up for the Pakenham Revitalisation Project. So I suggest you have a look. And there's some images as you come into the gateway with the roundabout and things. So I will be supportive of this, and I'd like to thank those attended for both this round and the earlier round.
Thank you, Councillor Pomeroy. Are there any other speakers to this item? Oh, I better say something then. Yeah, very, very exciting to finally be here. Councillor Pomeroy, you summed it up really well. Councillor Roberts, thank you so much for your contribution and leadership in this space since you've come onto council in what is really a politically challenging project, in that, you know, we note that anytime there's going to be business disruptions, traffic disruptions, change in an area that's as old as Pakenham, that can be politically challenging, but it's screaming out for change. It's screaming out to be redeveloped, to be revitalised, and we're finally there now. Really, really excited. In my second term on council, I think I remember having a coffee with former CEO Carol Jeffs the end of my first year talking about this project. So 4 years ago. And I think, you know, there's many people in council who have worked on this and who will continue working on this. But to be there here tonight, I guess, awarding the contract for the first stage is significant. We still have plenty of work to do for the remaining stages, and there is 12 stages in this project. It's a big project, and they will be delivered over coming years as funding becomes available. But yeah, I've said this, the councillors are probably sick of me saying this, but I've lived in Pakenham for 21 years and Main Street hasn't changed, and it's finally about to change. And that's a very, very special thing. So we should acknowledge and thank the state government. I mentioned former CEO Carol Jeffs, but Peter B, Narelle, Kylie, James, Derek, Dana, and the people in Deb's team, Wayne's team. Like, it's been an all-in effort to get a project of this scale from a dream, you know, with the People's Panel, everything like that, to design to now delivery. It's a really, really big thing. So I hope every councillor supports this. And I just want to thank the community for the support on this, because I understand it's a tough one. And previous councils have tried and failed or done this in fits and starts, and I think we're finally ready to do it properly. So, all right, back to you, Councillor Roberts, to sum us up.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. Oh,
sorry, Councillor Ross, I didn't see you. Go ahead. Sorry, Councillor Roberts. Go ahead, Councillor Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. I echo my fellow councillors' resolve on this issue that we do have to take it. It really is our highest density populated area in the Cardinia Shire. Pakenham is a face of Cardinia Shire for many people, and with the new improvements with the Skyrail and a hospital coming, we need to make sure that we give it that fresh face that it needs. I've seen areas around the world now that through lack of investment, through councils who just don't have the money to invest. And it gets tired and gets run down, as the Mayor said. It doesn't look very inviting. And the fact that we got this money off the state government, we need to utilise it, because this money won't be coming forever. These sort of grants won't be coming in future. So we do need to make sure that every post counts. It has been well documented by everybody that everyone's got an opinion on this, but we do need to make sure that we get it right. I think by doing it in stages like this, we can get it right, and we can rejuvenate the place in a really meaningful way that does make a difference. Anyway, I endorse this. I thank the officers. They've worked really hard on this to try and make sure that they make every voice listened to, and every penny counts. So anyway, I look forward to it, and thank you, councillors, and we'll see where this goes and what it looks like in the end. It looks great on paper, and we'll get to see in the real life soon. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Ross. Back to you, Councillor Roberts. I apologise.
Thank you, Mayor. Just thank you, everyone, for your discussion on this item tonight. Awarding this tender will be the start of the great evolution of Pakenham. The Pakenham Community Hospital construction is well underway, and there is growing interest in the township. We're really starting to see something positive happening for our regional centre. Pakenham is our regional centre. It's a joining place where the country and the city meet, and it's really fantastic. I really commend this adoption of this item to you, councillors. Thank you.
All right, let's put the officer recommendation to 7.4.4 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. Thank you. All right, councillors, let's take a brief break until 9:30, and we'll come back and finish off this council meeting, if that's all right. Need a quick break. Thank you. All right, everyone, welcome back to the council meeting. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to have a brief break. Let's keep going. Agenda item 7.4.5. We good, Mr. Harris? Beautiful. Let's go to the Capital Works Report, September 2025. The recommendation here is that council receives and notes the performance report for the financial year 25-26 capital plan. Do I have a mover for this item? Councillor Alana Pomeroy.
I'd like to move the officer recommendation as noted.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? Councillor David Nicol. Over to you, Councillor Pomeroy.
All right. This report informs council on the performance of our 25-26 capital works report, noting that there's been 247 projects at a value of just over 74 million. And some projects that I would like to highlight because there's been some good updates this week. So now Nagoon Reserve Oval 2 sports lighting amount carried forward was $40,000, but I did hear that for the final 20 minutes of training the other day, the lights did get turned on. So that was super exciting. Bunyip Sanctuary BMX track procurement process is underway for that. So I look forward to seeing what designs have filtered out of the community engagement for that one. Greenland Court Reserve in Garfield, construction is scheduled to commence in November 2025. So the plans are up for that on the website. There's been lots of commentary since I've started on how difficult it can be at times to book council community centres and things. So we've got a booking system that's currently in testing phase. So look forward to that one coming online in October. I did notice out at Coral Inn the other day that some of the modular building has been popped on site. So that's pretty exciting too. And Garfield North Community Centre is progressing very well. So lots to see in this report around some projects that are nearing finalisation, and look forward to having a very busy November, December of openings.
Thank you. I will go to your seconder, Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Mayor. Nothing further to add.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to this item? Councillor Potter, over to you.
We're very fortunate to have such a dedicated team of staff working with us to create this, and I want to start by thanking them, and also our councillors too. Each of us advocates passionately for our ward and strongly, but at the same time we're always balancing that with what's best for all of Cardinia. And what might be a top priority in one ward can be very different in another. Some communities are older with ageing infrastructure, and others are growing rapidly and still building essential infrastructure. So we serve such a wide area. You know, we sweep from Gembrook right through to Lang Lang, Officer, Pakenham, right through to Bunyip. And that's why not every community's needs can be on the top of the list every single time. I want to acknowledge the vision and care that staff bring to this process, and that our responsibility is to listen carefully to the community, be equitable, prioritise wisely, and invest where the greatest community benefit can be achieved, while ensuring our decisions remain financially responsible. There is one point I want to highlight, and that's the one in Officer and Beaconsfield. It's on the report. It's called the Burgeon Wayfinding Project. It's going to be a gorgeous interpretive Indigenous sculpture and signage to be installed along Princess Highway between Arena Parade and O'Neill Road. It's on page 4. And I'm so proud that Officer and Beaconsfield will have such a powerful symbol of respect for our Indigenous heritage. This project is intended to deeply respect our traditional custodians, the Bunurong and Wurundjeri peoples of the Kulin Nation, and will also offer a warm sense of community spirit to our newer residents, a sense of place, and also honour our historical past too. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Are there any other speakers? I'll go back to you, Councillor Pomeroy.
Nothing further to add.
Thank you. So we'll put the officer recommendation to 7.4.5 up for a vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. 7.5.1 Community Engagement Update for September 2025, and the recommendation is that we note this report. Do I have a mover for this one? Councillor Liz Roberts.
I move the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. And a seconder? Councillor Pomeroy. Over to you, Councillor Roberts.
This is always a handy report. I just particularly wanted to just note one item in it, which is the Pakenham Golf Course Deep Creek Reserve comment. Feedback on this is closing in 2 days' time, the 17th. So this is just a final reminder to go to the Cardinia page and complete the survey if you haven't already and you have an interest in the future of this significant reserve. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pomeroy.
Thank you. And on that, I'd just like to thank those that have reached out personally to me via phone, email, invited me to come and present to their groups. I'm loving the community engagement around this, and it has filtered across social media accounts across Australia. There's lots of chat about it. I am hoping to see that there's good numbers on this engagement. But regardless, there's definitely been a lot of community sentiment and letters to the editors and coverage by the papers. So I think it is important to note just how far engagement can go when the mood really strikes. And I'd love to see a bit more engagement on some other things. So there's our long-term financial plan that we've endorsed tonight to go out, the Narnagoon Township strategy, and just noting that that will come out a little bit later, October, November, future of Army Road Hall, and O'Neill Road in Beaconsfield. So we have given the community a whole heap of work after tonight's council meeting, and I look forward to everyone's responses on.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? I'll go back to you, Councillor Roberts.
Nothing further. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So let's put it to a vote. Officer's recommendation to 7.5.1. All those in favour? Declare that carried. Okay. Let's go into item 8 on the agenda, councillor reports. Who would like to start? No one. All right. Councillor Pomeroy.
Tonight's not a wrap up of what I've done. It's really a shout out to the hundreds and hundreds of volunteers across our community, across a number of sports who are leading into their finals, and that really ranges from soccer through to football, through to basketball, across to netball. There's been some equestrian as well. There's lots of local teams that are in. There's some that got knocked out this weekend or last weekend and won't be making it to the final, but there's many more that have, and there's some finals that have been held. No team gets to a grand final or any finals without a massive effort from a whole host of community members. So for those that are or have been chipping in and will continue to chip in this weekend, thank you, because they definitely provide a really important space for our community members. And it's not just the fitness and recreation, but it is the connection, and it's very visible if you're attending any of these or just sharing the socials. One I would like to call out were Bunyip Strikers Soccer Club, who made it to the State League final as well. Very new team and to be commended. But there's lots of local sporting teams on the up and up. So if you don't have a team to support, go down and find one.
Excellent. Thank you. Close it out. Councillor Owen, let's be more timely, please. Go, Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, for acknowledging the passing of Bob Taylor. Bob Taylor devoted his life to his community, whether it was through Scouts Victoria, the Upper Beaconsfield Cricket Club, and his dedicated service as chairperson of the Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve Community Management for 40 years. Bob was a stalwart and a strong advocate for the Upper Beaconsfield Recreation Reserve. He was extremely pivotal in making the future new pavilion at Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve a reality. The new pavilion is expected to be completed next year, and it will be sad not to have Bob around to celebrate that wonderful milestone and see the outcomes of his passion for the project. It was an emotional moment at the official sod turn on the 4th of July this year where Bob spoke. It was definitely an emotional moment. He spoke about his excitement that the new pavilion was finally coming to fruition. I'm committed to working with the Upper Beaconsfield Rec Reserve Committee of Management and the Taylor family to appropriately recognise and acknowledge Bob Taylor's achievements and service to our community through the new pavilion. I thank Bob for his remarkable contribution to our community. My thoughts go out to Bob's wife Eleanor and sons David and Alistair at this difficult time. Also want to acknowledge Audrey Dodson was an amazing person for history of our Shire and region. And I knew Audrey a long time growing up in Officer, so I'm thinking of her family at this difficult time. Just also wanted to acknowledge we had a drop-in session regarding the Huxtable Road proposed ceiling. It was great. We had over 50 residents turn up to the proposed ceiling of Huxtable Road. It was great to see so many people turn up to the Pakenham Upper Public Hall, and it was great to hear residents. Obviously, our officers were present. I was present, and there was definitely strong views around the speed of the road in the future. So that was definitely a big theme, and council will work with those concerned residents regarding that issue and what we can do, working with Vic Roads and their requirements to see what we can do in reducing the speed once that road is sealed. So also I just want to highlight, I am a council representative on the Mount Shamrock Environment Review Committee. The quarry owner is proposing some changes to their work area extension. I appreciate some members of our community are concerned about this proposal. Potential loss of amenity, air quality, noise emissions, operational effects, planning applications. Also the impact on council's own reserve, the Huxtable Road Equestrian, the two pony clubs attached to that. The committee actually went and had an on-site meeting at the pony clubs just to see the impact this proposed extension may do. So I encourage people to have a look. Obviously, it's still pending. They haven't made a formal application to the appropriate authorities yet. But I do encourage residents to check out the Mount Shamrock Wholesome website. It clearly details, obviously, what's happening in this space and reports, etc. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Owen. Councillor Potter.
Busy month as usual. I attended the Officer Tennis Club Awards presentation and AGM weekend, which was so inspiring. What a fabulous local club. Come and have a hit on the court. I'm proud to be on the Arts and Cultural Reference Group with Councillor Roberts. Great group. I think arts and culture are safe in their hands. This week, I also attended the launch of Child Protection Week with NAPCAN, which was moving and motivating. And of course, we all celebrated Father's Day. So happy Father's Day to all the dads, stepdads, mums, father figures out there. It was my first year without my own father, so I reach out to all those who miss their dads too. And also Mayor Jack Kowalczyk and I attended the Cardinia Aged Care Home on Tivendale Road, which was a pleasure to speak about all things council and answer questions from the wonderful residents there. So thank you for having us. We also did a coffee with Councillor on Meet the Mayor at Cafe 445, Princess Highway Officer 2, which was wonderful to meet locals and chat. And thank you for the great coffee. And I was honoured to attend the Janmashtami Ganesh Utsav with the Cardinia Gujarati Association at the Pakenham Hall, along with Deputy Mayor Pomeroy and Councillor Roberts and our local MPs too. The dancing and ceremony was breathtakingly beautiful, and it was an honour to be invited to be a part of it all. And this weekend, I'm looking forward to the International Touch Sixes rugby match at Cumley Banks in Officer on the 20th. And also the Lyrebird Choir's Unity Day concert at the Emerald Hill Hub on the 21st as well. Exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to give a little shout out to Aria Calisthenics, who are based at the Lily Pond Community Centre in my ward. I visited them on Saturday, see the young people participating in that sport for fun and for high level competition. They're quite a skilled group, and have won many awards. The club is growing like many in Pakenham. I want to acknowledge the passing of Audrey Dodson. Her life was a gift to our Shire in terms of the legacy she leaves behind in her writings and research that she undertook, and her many years of guardianship of the Berwick and Pakenham Historical Society, being on their committee for a very long time. Her pictorial book, Then and Now, is just lovely to look at, and is a great way to introduce children to understanding about the history of the Pakenham community. She also wrote Beaconsfield, the school in its district, about the Beaconsfield community as well, along with other bits and work that she did. So though we may mourn her loss, she has left us much, which helps us remember the past. The Seniors Festival is fast approaching. There's a full program in the Ageing Well current edition to get along to over during October. I want to give a shout out to the Cardinia Men's Shed, who are having a community garage sale on the 11th of October. You can register your garage sale with them and be on their map. And so please get in contact with them if you want to do that. And when you join that trail, you can also participate in a scavenger hunt to win a meat tray. So it's definitely worth getting on board if you're deciding to have a bit of a clear out, maybe have your garage sale, and then if there's anything that is not worthy of being kept, or put in a request for a hard waste collection. So thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts. Councillor Payton.
Just one of the highlights of my month, I attended the Victorian Farmers Federation Cardinia branch annual lunch at the Tooradin Sporting Club. It was great to see Jeff Bramley, who was here early tonight but is no longer, from Nanagoon, received the Agricultural Achievement Award. The award honoured the Bramley family, included Jeff's late wife, for their long service to farmers and the community. Jeff also serves as president of the Nanagoon Progress Association and is a former Nanagoon CFA captain. The keynote speaker at the lunch was Helen Comport from Harkaway, founder of Quilts of Valour Australia. Helen shared the inspiring work that her group does, giving commemorative quilts to servicemen, women and their families. Each quilt handmade with care, honours their service and sacrifices, and demonstrates the community's respect. I want to mention again the Kooyurup Motorcycle Club and the Pakenham Auto Club. I went down to the race day yesterday, saw those little peewees and the adults all in action, and it was it's a fantastically vibrant and socially connective space. They're doing great work to both educate their riders and give them a real release of, emotions that might otherwise be pent up. So both clubs, they provide thrilling experiences and a positive way to release that emotion and important motorsports education for their members. Most importantly, they deliver benefits for teens, youth and men's mental health and offer a social connection which has a huge impact on their lives. The work they do and their ambitions to grow really deserve our attention and support. In the months ahead, I'd like fellow councillors to join me on site to hear directly from these clubs their vision and what they could achieve if we gave them the wings to fly that Joe so dearly wants. Thank you to Joe, John and Bo for all you do for the Kooyurup Motorcycle Club, and thanks also to the terrific volunteers that keep the Pakenham Auto Club running.
Thank you, Councillor Payton. Are there any other councillors who'd like to contribute in councillor reports? No, I'll just quickly go. Someone very smart, wise and intelligent told me it's the International Day of Democracy today. So how fitting that on Monday, on ordinary meeting night, it's the International Day of Democracy. Very, very special. I thought that's worth shouting out from your local council. On a more serious note, I do just want to issue a big thank you. Tonight's actually our last ordinary meeting with Peter Benezik as our interim CEO. So I want to acknowledge Peter for the outstanding job he has done and will continue to do for another month or so. But also James Kelly, Debbie Tyson, Wayne Mack, the executive leadership team for the stability they've provided to the organisation and also to me since Carol left. So, yeah, you don't get a right of reply, but we thank you. All right. There's no petitions. There's one notice of motion, so we'll get into that now. The notice of motion is number 1118 and it's from Councillor Potter. Councillor Potter, can you please present your notice of motion?
I would love to. Thank you, Mayor. I, Councillor Samantha Potter, hereby give notice of my intention to move the following motion at the council meeting to be held at 7 p.m. on Monday, the 15th of September 25, today. That Council 1 notes the community concerns around growing traffic and changed traffic movements in the officer area, given recent changes such as gazettal of the Officer South Precinct Structure Plan, PSP, and Infrastructure Contributions Plan, ICP, by the Victorian Planning Authority. The closure of Station Street by the LXRP project Victoria Government, as well as continued development and a growing population. 2, I request a report be presented to Council that includes PSP/DCP requirements for a future arterial road in Officer, advocacy work done to date, opportunities to progress prioritisation and delivery by state government, further traffic counts and analysis on traffic movement are conducted within the officer area on completion of Starling Street Stage 2 works. And 3, notes that the notice of motion will be actioned as indicated and will be a collaborative effort by major projects, infrastructure services, community infrastructure delivery and arts advocacy and economy.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Is there a seconder? Councillor Brett Owen. Back to you, Councillor Potter.
I want to thank the officers for being so generous with their time and expertise re this, especially GM James Kelly and Misty Johansson, who even have come out to the community with me and given detailed talks and presentations to answer community questions. It's been great, so thank you. I also want to give thanks to all the residents who I have spoken with and who have eloquently shared their concerns with me about road safety and officer. The community engagement has been incredible, and that's what it's all about. I am all ears. Simply put, I represent my neighbours, the residents of Officer Ward Cardinia, and I mean it. I live here with my own family too and share most of your safety concerns, and I represent you. I'm always happy to hear from anyone for a chat, and we'll get back to you when you call. I advocate for Officer Ward. I choose to move this notice of motion because of serious safety concerns shared by our community around traffic. It's very imperative the infrastructure and environment team who look after our council roads and all the other teams aforementioned are primed, ready to take action when the opportunity arises, with the crystal clear evidence-based facts behind them, which they will get from this NOMS action. For example, I've been advocating for a bypass road in Officer and for other relevant roads and traffic safety aids in our area. We can already see the layers of connected concerns we have now, and there's more coming, with the complexities from Station Street closing to Starling Road concerns, the concerns of Browns Road, the trucks being redirected now, putting pressure on other local roads, the daily congestion when trains, station commuters, shoppers and school children are crossing Siding Avenue or Bridge Road, through the extra peak hour traffic on Siding Avenue and the Station Street closure, it adds up. And it, of course, don't forget the general population growth of our local area with new houses being built to the tune of 3 or 4 families a day moving into the area. Also, the growing developments in Western Port Ward at the other end of Officer South Road and the employment precinct and housing developments on the way. We are a very popular place to be, which is why we all live here, I'm sure. And it's great and we welcome it all. But let's be ready and ensure we have everything we need to stay safe in Officer Ward. I sincerely hope my fellow councillors vote in this NOM's favour and understand the importance of this request. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. Councillor Owen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Potter. I sincerely mean that. Your work in this space has been really fantastic, and I appreciate you advocating on behalf of your residents. Definitely, I understand there is real genuine concern in the officer community regarding the current road sort of status of many roads in Officer, and council was disappointed when the government decided to close Station Street to remove the level crossing. Our strategic documents, Officer Precinct Structure Plan, highlights this issue that the crossing should not be closed until the government constructs the new arterial road from Bayview Road, Princess Highway intersection to Officer South Road over the railway line through the old Gilbert land. That was highlighted in that report. Our officers advocated very strongly regarding that the closure shouldn't happen until that new road is created. We know now, obviously, the government has not committed to that road. It is very important. So I thank you for highlighting this issue. These other roads in Officer, Officer, you've got Brown Road. One side of the road is Green Wedge, and the other side of Brown Road, and it is a rural road at the moment, and the other side of the road is Green Wedge. So there is some severe challenges regarding roads in Officer. When the precinct structure plan was first adopted in 2009, things have changed. So I welcome road counts, as you suggested, as part of your notice of motion, and assessments from officers, and I look forward to the report coming back. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you. You're going to sneeze properly. All right. Is there any other speakers to this item? I see Councillor Liz Roberts.
I will be supporting this notice of motion. I particularly want to reiterate what Councillor Owen said regarding the closure of Station Street. I remember way back when the plans were being done for the Officer Precinct Structure Plan, and it was considered a win that the road, that there was going to be a road through, and that was in the plan at the time. At the same time, the early stages were done for the township. There were workshop staff did for the town for this where we are now, and there was a big win in that there was grade separation for the road to go under the railway, and that road didn't exist before. It was a new road. And I think what's happened is they've gone, oh, well, we've put that road in, so that you've got that before you got Station Street, so we can close Station Street, where they haven't really taken in. They're forgetting about this growth that we're experiencing. You can't just, you've got to look ahead, and that's why I really support the work that you're doing in this area, Councillor Potter. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers? If not, I'll go back to you, Councillor Ross, of course.
Thank you, Mayor. I concur with my fellow councillors. Look, this has been a really, really long time project. It's been a really long-term project. One of the big problems is over such a period of time, as Councillor Owen pointed out, 2009 it all started, is that things are done in spurts. You finish up with developers, you finish up with applications which are let lapse, like we had Safeways and cinemas in Officer going to be built, they were let lapse. Now we have developers who change their mind and don't do things. We have state governments who decide to put in extra roads in different sections. We need to bring it all together to get a real snapshot of what's happening right now. So therefore we can make a really good, well-judged perspective on this about decisions that will be made in the area. It will be a very interesting report to come back if council supports it, and I think it is absolutely timely. Officer is one of our last areas of really, really high growth. It's a very unique area because north of the highway, you've got bigger developments. South of the highway, you've got the bigger allotments, which can have more housing estates in them. So it will be really interesting to see what has and hasn't been done and followed through and where we go with this in the future. I concur with my fellow councillors about Councillor Potter doing excellent work in this area, going to the community, finding out what they're talking about and how important this report will be. It will be able to help her guide them and also help council in supporting some of the things in those areas and also stipulating to those people, state government and federal government on the outside and their politicians, what needs to be done in the area. It is a very important area. It's a central part of our urban growth boundary. And it needs to be up to date with what we're doing in that space. Thank you, Mayor, and bless you for your sneezing fit. I saw that.
Thank you. Good to see I'm making an impact on everyone. I appreciate that. If there are no other speakers, I'll go back to you, Councillor Potter, to sum up your nom.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate your words. And thanks again to all the residents who have spoken with me and who have eloquently shared their concerns with me about road safety and officer. Your concerns have been heard. Simply put, Officer Ward safety is my priority. I represent my neighbours, the residents of Officer Ward. I live here with my own family, and I genuinely share most of your safety concerns, and I represent you. Given the multiple factors outlined, it is very important that our council officers have crystal clear evidence-based facts behind them, and we can already see the traffic problem growing. So now today with this nom, I am calling for action, clarity and clear thinking. This is why I've put forward this nom to ensure the safety and growth of our beloved Officer Ward, and I deeply care about the future of our home. Thank you very much. I hope that my fellow councillors support us.
Thank you, Councillor Potter. So we'll put your notice of motion 1118 up for a vote. All those in favour? Declare that carried. There are no items of urgent business. We have two councillor questions. They are both from Councillor Potter. Councillor Potter, can you please read question 1, wait for a response, and then read question 2?
That would be my pleasure. Thank you. Question 1. Noting the traffic safety concerns of the officer community, what are the recent and upcoming planned works within the officer area to improve the road network, including Starling Road, McMullen Road, Station Street and Siding Avenue?
Thank you, through you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Potter, for your question. The response: numerous road upgrades are being delivered as part of the Precinct Structure Plan, PSPs, implementation and will deliver improved outcomes through officer in stages. McMullen Road and Princess Highway is planned to become a fully signalised intersection in line with the Officer Precinct Structure Plan, PSP. McMullen Road will be open through to traffic from 8th September 2025, associated with upgrades being delivered by developers which will help alleviate traffic congestion in the future. The developer is constructing the roundabout at McMullen Road and the future boulevard, and is also designing the new boulevard connection that will run from McMullen Road to Starling Road. The developer will upgrade the section from this new boulevard down to Starling Road, Princess Highway intersection. These 3 sections of work will significantly improve traffic flow and connectivity in the officer area once complete. Starling Road, officer. The new constructed section of Starling Road, Northern End, Stage 1, has been completed, including line marking. In response to community concerns, an application to the Department of Transport and Planning, DTP, in July 2024, proposing a reduction from 80 kilometres to 60 kilometres per hour. Council has recently provided additional supporting information and remains hopeful for a positive outcome in the near future. Starling Road is closed through to traffic from 9th of September until early 2026 due to the commencement of Stage 2 works. Station Street, Siding Avenue and North-South Arterial Road, officer. Station Street officer was permanently closed as part of the aim to make the Pakenham line crossing free by 2025. Wait a minute, I've got lost. Council acknowledges that traffic on Siding Avenue has increased following the closure of Station Street and continues to advocate for the Officer North-South Arterial Road to be prioritised within the Victorian Government's infrastructure pipeline. In recent times, the Officer South Road shared user path was completed in 2025, which provides safer pedestrian cyclist access to the Officer Railway Station. Tivendale Road, Bayview Road Officer. These two intersections in Princess Highway were completed in 2024. Future developer funded works along Tivendale and Bayview unsealed road sections are part of the Officer PSB and timing is undetermined at the moment. Brunt Road, Whiteside Road intersection, Pink Hill Road, Whiteside Road intersection and Brunt Road, Ricks Road duplication. These are all awaiting funding confirmation and scheduling for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Potter.
Question 2. Given Cardinia's rich multicultural and multi-generation community, and considering the recent events and their emotional impact, how is Council working to create and promote safe spaces where all voices can be heard, understanding can grow, and connection and conversation are fostered to reduce stigma and build solidarity across our diverse groups?
Thank you. I'll go to Debbie Tyson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Potter, for your question. Cardinia Shire Council stands firmly against racism in all its forms. We condemn recent anti-immigrant rallies and far-right attacks on culturally significant sites. These actions will not influence our policies or values. Council remains committed to fostering inclusion and respect through our Cultural Diversity Plan, the Multicultural Advisory Group, and the South East Anti-Racism Network. We celebrate diversity, protect human rights, and promote unity across our community. If you experience or witness racism, report it to Council's website at www.cardinia.vic.gov.au/report racism. Support is available to the community. Thank you, Councillor Potter. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Deb. That concludes councillor questions. There's no confidential business, and that leaves us to close the meeting out. So I declare the meeting closed at 10:06 p.m.